Everyone funnels in about 3 anyways. Let's see if it kicks over. I hate it when they do this. Refresh. You ever had StreamYard does this?
Well, looks like we're live, sir. We're on.
If I sound weird, because I actually had to redo my sound. So we are back to this, and this is going to be a bulk review of episodes 6 through 10, because Gray took time off because he was a lazy.
I was on a sabbatical.
Yes. So we are going to go over it. Probably have to do the same with Fallout.
Hell yeah.
That is so. But the thing with Fallout though is there's little stuff in every episode, so you have to like maybe bulk it. Like that's,
yeah.
But that's still way ahead, and then eventually got to get you into Shogun.
Yes, I still need to watch that. I should
People who are missed that there is a whole.
But I'll catch up by the time season 2
airs. Talking about. Here's the thing that's weird about that. And I'm very conflicted. I could see them doing a good season 2, like right up until the Battle of Sekigahara. But you would be having to adapt material or history to make Shogun work, because it's implied in the original book that the Battle of Sekigahara just happened. Because if you go to the end of the beginning of the Edo period, because that's actually when Poragawa wins.
I'm very ignorant to all that.
No, people, history. I can forgive people if you don't know that. There's a lot of people who don't know Japanese history. There's getting a lot of people who are getting crash courses with the whole Yusuke drama, and I swear that has gotten dumb. Like, one of their Japanese writers is there digging into history for it. She literally wrote a book titled Tales of like the Beautiful Boys and how they were romanced by everybody. It's like, and that's not even actual history. Like, it's romanticized. Like, these people, like, I've caught so many people getting stuff wrong. Like, and there's a whole thing is if people saw what I said on the AC thing, no one says he wasn't a samurai. What kind of samurai was he? Samurai during that period was a class.
Yeah, I wish I had a better
There's
knowledge.
A whole like
from
thing
video
people
games,
don't
really
know about it. Like, he could be considered like a bushi. He was classified in some as a weapons carrier. And the problem now, I will say why Ubisoft is using him. It's like I've seen people say DEI is there isn't. But we're talking people. But that topic is because when that game drops, we will know. Because there's a lot of inside baseball because they have 2 Assassin's Creed games coming out. There's that one, and then they have another one in the works called Hexy. Hexy is going to have a female protagonist. But it's going to be set in 1600s, the German Empire. It was there. I'll find my medieval history is not as good as my ancient history or modern history. Weakness of things. But it's set in like Charlemagne the Great's era when he was there, and they're burning the famous witch hunts. So now the idea. So we left off with Life Death Part 2. Now, I'm going to say this. It's titled Life Death, but you spend most of the episode not talking about the Storm arc. I feel that the season, Bo DeMaio did a lot of justice to a lot of stuff. But I felt they dropped the ball on life death.
Yeah, and they did it with the first half too. It was the exact same thing. It's the majority of it, 20-something minutes, is Motendo, and then just a little bit of Storm and Forge. And hey, now they love each other. I think there's two main kind of arcs that get really abbreviated in the poorest way for me this season, and Life Death is the main one for me. It sucks. I wanted to know way more of that than the Shi'ar Empire, but fair enough.
Well, you answer what happened to Xavier. They think he's dead, but he got picked up by basically
Lilandra. Yeah.
Which is fine. That comes back later on. That made sense that he was off with a Shi'ar. Now,
yeah, and if he's going to go off planet,
I guess you could that part for a part later on. I can see why they went with this.
Well, and I like kind of the mystery. Like, there were a lot of people kind of debating it and theorizing, like, is Xavier really dead? Did they change it? But it kind of makes sense in world that, like, if he's going to be off planet, just go full through it. Yes, Gyrick actually executed him, actually assassinated him. I don't know. It kind of makes sense to me. I liked that kind of tease. Yes, I just would have wanted it a different way. Like, give me a full life death episode. Just
now you can go into the whole really thing of, I feel that's a bigger arc, to be honest, with Xavier, because him going off to there is like, and here's the thing, people forget the Shi'ar, there's alien mutants too. Deathbird is one of them. Gladiator is one of them. Gladiator is actually an interesting one. It's like he's like Superman in terms of a little bit.
Did you see the other kind of special mutants that they had there? There was
because there's always a link between the Shi'ar mutants, the Shi'ar Empire mutants, and the Earth mutants. They're not that different. Like Blackbird, which is Liandra's sister. I'll probably mispronounce. Like she's not that big in like terms of the story, because she eventually gets dethroned. Like you get like Vulcan, who goes over there. You get the third Scott brother.
Yep.
That's the thing about the Scott brothers. They're all stupidly powerful.
Yep. There's a reason why Sinister's after them.
That's actually, even in the comics, old comics. Like, he's like, apparently, like, Havoc, you could arguably say, is just sound, but he's not as strong as Black Bolt.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like Havoc. I liked Havoc way back in the day. I have not kept up with him in the last while, but I don't know, man. I wish they had done Havoc a little bit more justice.
There's a weird thing. Like, he's going to get a reboot, and he's supposed to be one of the main characters in one of the From the Ashes books coming out. But
it could be cool.
It's interesting, but I'm not going to hold my breath on the rebirth of Marvel. Like,
well, I don't know, man. These X-Men 97 books,
people who say
they're sold out every week.
Not really. So, Fall of Krakoa, right, should have been done a year ago.
So I'm not talking about those, like the X-Men 97. Like, so they made a comic version kind of these shows.
The comic version is selling out, yes.
Yeah,
but
they
in
might
the modern
be
era, we're
revitalizing.
We're talking like the Krakoa era, because they are trying to deal with it. Now, I will say the rebirth in the Krakoa era, the problem is when you're trying to reboot, every X-Men era ends in disaster. This has been the stage for, I'm nearly 40, and I've seen how many reboots? Like the content of Heroes Reborn, the one where they introduce the villain that I knew who it was, like the early 2000s reboot, like of it, and they go through the writers. But the thing right now is about Havoc. Havoc is going to be sent in a political book. That book is doomed. They pulled Gail Simone to be one of the writers on the X-Men. I have no hope for that book. And anyone who likes Gail Simone, good luck on you. Her books are mid. She is famous for turning characters gay and working on Teen Titans and other stuff.
I mean, she inspired
Mid books.
certain animation, but yeah, I there is a fan base for it. I was never super into that.
You either love Gail Simone's art or you just hate it. Her art,
it inspired a lot of other art. I think it was kind of that and Steven Universe just had this huge push where everything looked like that for years.
See, the thing about, like, and this is why I have to ever get into artists that I like, but Gail Simone's in a reboot of it, and there's some other people, so it's highly questionable because you're seeing, but I don't expect Marvel to fully, like, it's going to be interesting in the execution because there is a lot of stuff that's gone on. And right now, a lot of the weekly readers are in copium. As I was telling Gray before the stream kind of thing. These are comic people. They don't know how to react to it. And Marvel is very different than it was. And this is why X-Men 97, if they follow what the fans like, because the comic book version of X-Men 97 or leading up to it, the mid part of it, is actually good. Like, it's selling out and doing well. So
yeah, gotta be honest, I haven't checked out any of those books yet.
Oh,
I am
yeah.
interested, but all I've heard
the-
is they're actually selling out, which is rare, which is great. Like, hell yeah, I'm glad that this is reinvigorating the want for X-Men, because it's been falling off for a minute.
But
Even
the
though
writers
a lot of people are saying these are amazing storylines. I don't know, when I hear it and when I kind of see it, it's like that's not really drawing me in, but what they did here really is. So hell yeah,
well,
I'm
that's
all for it.
because the latter half of Krakoa has been ass. Despite what people like Dane says with the representation, because there's supposed to be a big issue with the marriage between Destiny and Mystique, and it's going to be like, yeah, so you're just stamping. And my thing is, the whole thing, right, with modern comics as it stands, is they let the ideology creep in. Like, if I told people about how the fall of X was going, like with time travel shenanigans, this is how stupid it is. So if Moira was going to become a problem, use that moment. Go back in time when she's 10 years old. You already know the future. And you know she's going to cause issues. Unalive her as a child before her powers activate. Save yourself.
Well, you could even go like pretty late into her life before her powers activate.
You gotta go
late onset powers.
The way her thing is, once her powers activate, she can rebirth herself. That's actually how bad. So you have to go back to the moment. There's a moment in one of the Fall of X where they take Hope Summers, right? Practically, Hope Summers goes to back in time, uses that moment. Xavier kills Hope Summers and chooses to spare Moira, who he knows is going to be the downfall in this timeline. Then goes and makes a deal with Orcus to protect mutants.
That just doesn't sound like the Xavier I know, but granted, I haven't followed like the whole storyline. I had like kind of beats.
If I describe that to you, that does not sound like a good storyline. This is an Xavier that has seen the destruction of Krakoa. He knows what Moira's plan is in the future. It's Marvel won't pull that trigger at all. So it's, when I say modern Marvel has issues where you have to read one issue and they have another series running parallel. That's why you're seeing X-Men 97, I think, is doing a lot better because it's more of a classic storytelling.
I think people are wanting that. They kind of want this, I don't know if you want to call it like a renaissance or a revitalization, but something is tuning back into like what was classic, and it seems like there's really a want for that, and I think that's kind of key with the X-Men. But perhaps I'm just jaded, and I just like what I like. But apparently, X-Men '97 is having waves that are really reaching out to the rest of Marvel. Supposedly, it was a big influence on kind of the decisions to completely scrap Daredevil Reborn and go kind of more consistent. So I don't know if it is giving influence to a lot of this. Like, hell yeah, maybe
They need to.
turning a corner, so to speak, with the cinematic and animated universe.
I mean, they should. I mean, the concept right is there wasn't that bad of writing going through like the mid 2000s.
No, they've got so much good stuff to pull from, but they're doing it in a weird way. And I love what they did here. Like, they pulled, God, it must be like 15 arcs or something like that for this season.
Adapting Life Death, right? Life Death was a 4-series arc. She leaves Forge. Forge, she realizes he's the one who invented the gun that depowered her.
Yeah, his
as
tech.
part of a deal.
Yeah, the players were a little bit different in this so that they could again, it feels like they're kind of cutting some stuff out, abridging it so they can make it move a little bit faster. But for me, it works. Like, I don't hate who he was tasked with, and then they give you
to living in New York. Goes, oh, Forge can help me, and she finds out over a phone call, like Forge is the one who invented the weapon as part of a deal.
And it's like kind of overhearing on a phone call. It's kind of amazing, and it takes you on like a psychological journey, and you kind of really understand this betrayal and his need to want to try and save her, and you understand this deep connection they have. In this episode, it feels like it just moves so fast, where in Life Death, like I can't remember how many pages they spend on just making a salad together. Like, it's, my God, but there's so much depth that you get for their relationship, like their actual like wants and needs with why they are kind of together. You understand how a love blossoms. Here it's just like, oh, I love you, Storm. It's like, what? Or I guess he says Aurora.
Basically, it's like there's still this relationship too, and I want you to remember where this inconsistency begins. Because as far as this show goes, no one knows who Forge is.
He was in the one X-Force episode.
He was in like 3 or 4 episodes
Havoc.
of the other one. Like Sanctuary and a bunch of episodes in the original.
And that's why he says like he's a friend of whatever. But Storm wasn't in that episode, so she doesn't really have a history with him. So like that works out perfectly fine. But yeah,
it's weird, like the concept. So it's going through with what they exchange, and there's a mini storyline with Deathbird where she tries to take over the Empire. I mean, the Shi'ar stuff has always been awkward anyways. So it's like, oh, and just to abridge it, is like Charles is walking around in an exosuit. Remember that for later. By the way.
Which, you know, if the bird people can give you legs again, I can understand wanting to be there.
No, so the idea is he's walking around like a normal because he's using an exosuit. But remember that for later, because I'm going to have to bring that point up when we get to it.
But he also has to wear the funky helmet because, you know, they require it.
Well, the Shi'ar are just, they are, but it's a strange thing, right? Because Shi'ar are more involved in intergalactic Marvel, which deal with the Guardians of the Galaxies, the Silver Surfers, the Kree, and the Skrulls.
Yeah, which we get a fun Kree moment there, and you know we get to see now blanking on his name, Ronan.
Apparently, they're trying. Yeah,
it's kind of fun, you know. Like there were a bunch of different cameos in this. You mentioned we get the one Summers brother. You know, we see all these other ones. Like that's pretty awesome, and it leads into a pretty good Professor X moment where, you know, like he really does take them all to school literally, and then
that's actually the good part. Like he does. Now in reality,
and the foreshadowing with that too is just like kind of amazing. That's one thing that this show has really done well is these kind of visions that they give you enough where it's glimpses of where it's going to go. And I'm sure when you saw kind of his vision and how it ends, I'm sure you knew exactly where that was going. That was where I hoped it was going, and it
Well,
kind
to
of
be
pays
fair,
off.
if you go
Remember,
back and no, to be fair, if you go back to Madeline Pryor's vision, she
Mhm.
sees the mass death with a three-headed sentinel.
Yep.
That
And the
is
music
a
playing in that
very
is that same Ace of Base song from the Magneto Rogue Dance. There's so much going on in these
that is
visions, and
actually because remember I said it. I think I said it to you. That is massive foreshadowing.
yeah, and
And
they
I
did it
was like
again here.
the
It's
green,
just
because the
I love
idea, I'm like,
Vodameo's vision. If he's the one that really gets credit for this, he was the showrunner and he is the head writer on a bunch of the episodes. So if he was the one who did this, it is masterfully done. I can't get over the sound design for these foreshadowing things. They also use lines from Nathan. They did lines from I think there's like 5 or 6 different lines that are foreshadowed in that too.
the
I
idea
just
of
I
the
absolutely love what they did with
because
it.
if you go back and look at the early with the intros, how everyone knew who one of the main villains is he was in a flashback, and everyone's like, so you know the storylines that they were going to go with, like the E is for extinction. The E is for extinction is a bigger storyline. That was part of I think all new X-Men in the early 2000s. That's why I mentioned. And it's actually a really good one. I kind of like fell off. It was like dark-ish, but the concept of that's where that comes from. And uh everyone knows who that main villain kind of was because they recognized the suit. Now,
Well, I kind
You
of
di
thought
you
that it.
didn't know it was weird, but if you know who when you see the villain, you know who it was, and he's hinted, and we're
Yeah,
like, "How are they gonna" you have to think how they're gonna pull it off, because all the intros have some sort of foreshadowing even in the finale. So you get to the part
true.
here's where I think it
I
got
got to ask you a weird side tangent, but I'm sure you didn't skip any of the intros to this. I'm sure you were like kind of
no.
glued to it, actually, like watching
Yes.
every. When's the last time you did that with a show? Like, I got to be honest, I love the like skip intro feature that a lot of the streamers have now. I did not do that once. This is like I was glued to it. I can't think of one since like Game of Thrones where they would kind of change it up and you'd kind of understand, okay, these people are going to be involved this time. But man, this is just unique for me. I
You
can't think of
need
another show
to
recently
the
that did that.
intros feed into the thing and the storylines for the people. You even get an intro to what eventually happens to all the characters. So it goes to the part, and this is where I think at the ranch, see, here's how they handle life death part two. Instead of the original storyline, after she leaves Forge, she gets like a deep power array, and then she goes, well, my powers aren't back. She goes back to Africa. This is how I would have done it, and I feel this is the original story. Goes
It
back
is
to
very abridged.
She goes back to Africa, talks to a witch doctor, and there's this big moment where she has to confront the Shadow King.
Mm.
And it's like she's flying in the air type of thing, and she gets struck by lightning, etc. It reinvigorates her powers. But then it came down to it was her self-doubt is why her powers hadn't reactivated. But it was
Which is what
done
they
in
were trying to do here. Supposedly, Forge's machine worked. It was just her own like mental blocks, and they kind of do that with the adversary. That's why Alison Seeley Smith is the amazing voice actress for Storm, but she's also the voice actress for the adversary. It kind of works like that. I think you'd actually have to kind of introduce who the Shadow King is and kind of explain that. Where the way that
they've
they kind of
already
did the
explained
adversary,
it.
it's kind of a version of her own like mental
No,
anguish,
the
if you will.
adversary is linked to Forge,
Getcha. I'm
but
just not 100% certain in
he
this
is
one if
also
it is Shadow King.
here's the thing about the Shadow King. The Shadow King is a multiversal entity. The adversary is just one form. And Storm has faced like 3 or 4 of them. Of the Shadow King. So so here's what happens, right? It's like she goes in and you have to find the cactus or the flower. See, instead of doing that amazing storyline, which if you want to honor a black character and how she's designed, right? That is a brilliant way. Because this is why
Yeah.
Life Death is also recognized as the book that made Storm. Like 85, 80, like around that period.
Well,
Now,
what this kind of builds into too makes it not really work for me as well. Because okay, so she's in Texas, but the mansion is back east, so she can't go there for the next episode when everybody's
oh
kind
no,
of
fully into that. Well,
gathering.
it goes
But
through.
if she was in a different continent, that would actually make sense to me.
So, basically, he gets healed with the power. It's like the poison's killing him. She defeats the adversary, which is fine. And then it really takes it away because it's like they abridge it. Because I've always said abridging is the enemy of this series. Life Death should have been one whole episode.
I wish it was. So I agree and disagree. I love what they did with Madeline Pryor. It just cleans up that mess so much.
Yeah.
I think we got shortchanged with the Goblin Queen storyline, but they try to pay it some reverence, and that could be my favorite animation from this series is the horror movie aspects of that episode. But I just imagine how great the Goblin Queen could have actually been. But the Madeline Pryor stuff to me is so much cleaner than I don't hate Cyclops after this. I kind of understand where he's coming from. Where in the books, I hated Cyclops because of what they did with Madeline Pryor.
No, you got to understand. The thing with the Goblin Queen and that whole Inferno arc originally was Marvel's trying to explain the supernatural. Marvel has 50-50 on dealing with the supernatural.
Yeah, I mean they've got Strange, and he's pretty big. So, and Forge, I guess, is also part supernatural, and the adversary is supernatural. They're dealing with some of it, but you're right. It does feel like that's the part that keeps getting abridged.
Marvel is separate from usually mainline Marvel.
Wouldn't magic be included in the supernatural, or am I just including that weirdly?
See,
I just assume since Forge is using magic and Strange is using
magic all through. Like the idea, okay, so magic is a thing people see. She has like a demon form or so. Because technically
sorry, I meant like sorcery, not magic. I just meant like anything sorcery, wouldn't that be?
So Nightcrawler, when he's teleporting, does not teleport through dimensions. He teleports through limbo. Goblin Queen comes from limbo. Madeline Pryor. So, well, if they said, oh, she made a deal with a demon on how she gets the extra powers, that would have made more sense. But they didn't want to go through that because half of Madeline Pryor's powers or is the fact she's a clone of Jean Grey who made a deal with a demon.
Yeah, but it's so much cleaner the way that they, even though they're making it confusing and they don't tell you exactly when, the switch happened or which, since they still share memories even after they would have been apart. I don't know. It's I guess it's a little muddled, but I like it so much more than the comics where like with this adversary life death part 2. Well, the whole life death thing. I wish it was one episode and they just dug a little bit deeper. Like you mentioned with going to like Africa, like that would be awesome. And then that would give an excuse for the next episode as well, where it doesn't feel like it goes to the depth that comic did. And then it doesn't, I feel like this is the worst abridgment for me in this series.
So they'll swear, right? And then, and the teasers, right, is Trask is confronted by Mr. Sinister at the end. Which, I mean, the idea is they're saying with Trask is like So it's weird, right? Because a lot of it is they've been trying to build. Because, like, you can know a lot of these storylines by it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it goes in now. We're going to go into Bright Eyes. Bright Eyes this is where we say about, remember a couple of the stuff I said about why doesn't Storm come to the funeral?
Which it would make sense, like if she is depowered and in Africa, maybe she couldn't get back in time. But
Texas
she's
is
in
like
Texas.
Yeah, like that's a flyover. Like I live in Texas. I could fly to New York and get a plane or fly over there very easy.
It seems like she would be there. Gambit was her friend, and hell, like everybody else on the team. This is a huge loss. So what the fuck? I can understand Rogue not being there. Like, she's out kicking ass, getting names, and she's really pissed. But, like, we get in the end of.
Now,
I guess it was the end of Life, Death Part 2. Sorry, I just remember her and Forge seeing the report.
Can I tell you what moment this is drawn from? This is drawn from the funeral idea of the funeral of war. It's like between two. It's like the mourning period in E for Extinction, but also from the ceremony that when Magic got killed by the legacy virus.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. And they kind of pay that off. Mm-hmm. Which I've heard mixed reports. Does it work for you that I guess I'm getting the cart before the horse because it's a little bit later, but do you like the switch with Rogue as opposed to Colossus? I've heard a lot of people have an issue with it. That like it makes no sense.
Introduced because there's a whole thing there, like the idea, and then Rogue. There has been a lot of stuff in this character this season they're doing about Rogue's character. They kind of bundle her up better at the end, but her whole thing that she goes from being how she starts to being around Eric, they treat her as just some floozy kind of a thing. That is a problem into itself. Rogue, like, there's a lot of people who hate the direction of Rogue in this season.
Yeah. I watched one dude's video who was really talking about like Rogue is his favorite character, and they just like killed her arc. I don't know. To me, I can understand the anger. I really liked her arc this season.
They go from talking about they go from the other where when she was found by Mystique and she was in the Brotherhood, and there's that subtle romance between her and Magneto. Now, in AOA, Age of Apocalypse, they do have a kid together.
Yeah, it's not unfounded, and it's not clear like exactly how far they go and everything like that. I remember prior to episode 5, a lot of the rumors and criticism was they've completely cucked Gambit. Like, what the hell? They can't do this. They've made Gambit just like the beta. He's just sitting there and watching it. And I don't know. They get into it and remember it, and it turns out they're not really cheating. Perhaps they were actually training because he's kind of making his move. But I don't know. I don't think they could have handled it more tastefully, and I don't think they could have done Gambit more justice or made him more of a gentleman. But man, I understand Rogue's predicament. Like it really hits home, and to me, this is like this is what I imagine of Rogue from the comics, and I haven't seen that with those 2000s X-Men movies. Like, I don't know. I think Rogue was the character they did the most disjustice to. I get that they didn't want to use Jubilee and they wanted to have like some intro character, so I guess they're doing Rogue, but man, this is the Rogue I wanted to see. I wanted to see a super overpowered, basically Captain Marvel, but with this Southern charm. And I don't know. I loved it. I completely understand her arc, her anger, and her want for revenge. But yeah, a lot of people don't like her arc and kind of her big decision, if you will, at the end of this episode.
She doesn't even go to Gambit's funeral either.
But she's doing that to find Trask, to find the people responsible
Well,
for this, because
she goes after Gyrick and Trask, and then you see a flashback to like. I do like how they are teasing in the door open, where it's like the Hulk universe. They go, "This is a place to keep out the Hulk,"
yep.
and Rogue just rips off this facility, and like
Well,
she
and
can
it's
do. It's like
what's his name? I always forget that
Thunderbolt
character's
Rob.
name.
Thunderbolt Rob.
Yes, thank you. So I don't know. Like it's really fun. We are getting a bunch of tie-ins, and then I love the cameo factory that is Morph. Like I just love that we
Okay.
get. I can't remember if it's this episode or the next one that we do actually get a Hulk
Conspiracy
cameo.
here is they're teasing a return of the animated block. That is what people are hoping. Like,
well, they paid
other,
off a huge Spider-Man thing, and there are rumors that Spider-Man's coming back as well. So
you're gonna have to do one at a time, because this is where
if they
also go.
They might actually have me.
They actually go into Captain America as well. Now there's that whole cheeky nod too. It's like, yeah, but we can't help you because we have to listen to the federal government. And then she goes, "Oh, you're not a captain without the shield." And she chunks the shield halfway across the mountain.
I dug it. I can see the rage in her. Like, my God, losing Remy and not even being able to tell him that, like, hey, I did choose you. I don't know. I think I could see that rage and that like bloodlust of revenge. And if this guy is gonna wait to help you for orders, despite what just happened, I don't know. I could see throwing his toy as far as he could, but
it makes sense. It's like, well, you got to do the whole thing. She then finds out Trask is in Mexico. Gyrick, sorry. Gyrick is apparently breaks in, absorbs his memories.
As he's doing bug stuff.
Puts him into like a coma like she did Carol Danvers. But she
kind of magically wakes up.
She sees memories of what looks like the Sentinels, the attack, but she also sees a shadow of Bastion.
Yep. And kind of a not master mold, Nimrod type thing as well.
Bastion is a very interesting character. Bastion has been in the intros for the last like 3 episodes.
But not in his current form, in kind of previous forms, and it kind of keeps showing that
he's a Nimrod that goes through the Siege Parallax or Siege Perilous.
Yeah, which they don't show in this one. Instead, they kind of change his.
And then they show a portion of him because it's like memories. Because Bastion has been littered all through this season.
And Bo DeMeo confirmed it. It's pretty awesome. The like little cameos. Like, I did want to go back and watch each one of these just for looking.
He was in
Genosha. Like this.
He was in Genosha too at the party.
Yeah, that's the easiest one to find him. Well, I guess maybe Life Death Part 1 would be the easiest one, where he's in a photo on Forge as well.
Forge, yeah, like.
But yeah, he does walk right next to the camera while Rogue and Magneto are dancing, and you can see the part in his hair. Bo DeMeo confirmed that he's in like every episode. So it is weird. There is another one where a lot of the leaders are kind of at this table. There is kind of a black suit that you can see like just at the side of it. It's theorized that that's Bastion as well. It's kind of awesome. So I do want to. I think this has huge rewatch potential, and I do want to go back and just look for all these Easter eggs.
Now, this is where I'm going to have a little bit of issue in the abridgment, right? Because you're starting to get this is the operation to zero tolerance.
Yeah, which they kind of give you 3.5-ish episodes on, which is interesting. It's the longest arc so far.
See, here's the thing about zero tolerance. Operation Zero Tolerance is not as bad as Operation Wide Awake, which leads into Fatal Attractions, which is an arc that is used in this season as well. It is a thing with Bastion. Now, so as soon as you knew it, like I figured by the final episodes, tolerance is extinction. I knew they were going to go for zero tolerance because that was not as a big of storyline as it was actually very pivotal in the early. Like, if you're going to do Bastion, you're going to do either Second Coming or you're going to do Zero Tolerance. Zero Tolerance was more of the updated, but as soon as they confirmed, so they find Gyrick, right? She learns them. Then Trask sends a message because he gets terrified about, let me show you your future. Then they go to Magipur. Now,
well, one kind of thing. Well, sorry, I might be screwing up the timeline in this.
because Gyrick gets murdered.
Rogue kind of
By the way,
randomly wakes up.
Gyrick gets murdered in his sleep by.
Yeah. But kind of before that, right after Rogue gets that vision, after she touches him, all of a sudden she kind of wakes up in an alley and Nightcrawler's there. Did you think they were going to pay that off with something? Like, did it just seem like that was a loose end that we just all of a sudden catch her just coming to in an alley with the rest of the X-Men?
Maybe. I know, it's like,
I thought for sure. And then with the next episode where she's kind of like in a coma, so esque state, I thought they were going to pay that off with something. But yeah, apparently there was just a scene that was cut for time where they kind of, Bo DeMeo kind of later confirmed this, that they actually showed her fly out of there and then kind of pass out in the alley. Where,
so
fair enough.
There's also this whole thing to a subplot with like, because Roberto's from Magipur too, and it's kind of like that area, and they're like, well, my son's a mutant, just don't say that out loud, you're gonna do it. And that's a reverse from the comic. Now there's this whole thing of, so I'm like, with Bastion, I go, so when you know it's Bastion, they're going through Magipur, you see the prototype for the Wild Sentinels and the Prime Sentinels. Okay, there's two forms. But now I'm like, how are they going to do the Prime Sentinels? Because here's the thing about Prime. Here's the thing.
I'm not as familiar with the comics in it.
Here's the thing.
To me, it worked.
So the Prime.
But what about for you?
I'll have to bring up an image of the Prime Sentinels. The Prime Sentinels, for people who aren't knowing, they look like Bastion, but before you get the idea, they can be people size. They're meant to be activated when they're near presence of. So Trask is saying, well, I'm really working for Bastion and that. Then Rogue, it leads to a big dramatic scene where she drops him off a building.
So that's what a lot of people had a huge issue with. I think after a huge loss and, you know, people refusing to help you, and essentially I can understand where she would be to not continue holding some dude who tried to jump off a building. But there's a lot of people on the internet who are saying that completely kills her character, that now she's a murderer and this is unforgivable. How do you view this?
Well, I mean, I think it was justified.
Yeah. Apparently, legally, she would be responsible for it if somebody tries to jump and you grab them.
Fair,
apparently, if you let go, it is murder.
Right.
It's so I was wondering. So I kind of took a look at the legal side. If you try to stop somebody from jumping and, like, say you slip, you could actually be tried for murder if you were the one holding them. So it's interesting.
So here's the thing, right? These are the Prime Sentinels. Okay. They look like
they do
Bastion.
Have a Bastion looking.
They have the Bastion look. But here's the thing. They can be people size or they can be giant size.
Yeah, this was a little after my time with the comics.
This is in the early
so I like
2000s.
Yeah, I had kind of stopped at that point.
Okay, here's the person. This name,
which they kind of had her in there, because isn't she the assistant lady?
Now that is key because she plays forward. Like, this is how Bastion looks in like one of the comics.
Which
So
they get him kind of similar.
this
If
is
you were to
him
show
in
me him and the one from '97, I'd say they're the
this
same
is
dude.
him in second. I think it's like mostly second coming. Now Bastion, right? This is when they drop Trask. He's dying, and the Prime Sentinel thing activates.
I absolutely loved the kind of like sleeper cell Prime Sentinel thing. I'm assuming they couldn't do that with the Bastion Prime Sentinels, like in the actual comics. They weren't like
They
sleeper cells; they
do
were
that.
actual. They do.
They
Cool.
do. They are. They don't realize it, or Bastion can control. See, okay, Bastion has a different storyline because
For sure.
There's like this whole thing, like you actually had to look up through Bastion. Even I had to go back. I'm like, when I knew it was Bastion, I had to go back and refresh myself because he is, as I say, a thing of a master mold mixed with a Nimrod that went through the Siege Perilous.
And then became bio.
Then he became like a human, but he was living a life as a human, taken in by a mother, like older woman, like that's in there. And he eventually really still awakens that he's still a sentinel. So this goes through. So Prime Sentinels can either be tiny or they can grow. Like that image, they can just grow. Like it's not like the whole thing. They can be big or they can be. This is literally
Could they pose
from
as like
the
regular
comics.
humans?
Yeah, this is like literally from the comics of the Prime Sentinels.
Because I really liked how it was kind of like, what would you call that? Like pod people things or whatever. They were just sleeper cells and then they turned on, but it could be anyone. Like
here's
one scene where they have the family, like there's the two kids and the two parents playing, and then all of a sudden,
right? This image doesn't show. You got like the wild sentinels, you got that, and then you got the big mark sentinels, right? Like these, like the prime sentinels could be humans, kind of thing. Let me see. If you don't see it, like sentinels have this weird thing. And these big sentinels have gone through various changes. Because also remember,
they look so much sleeker now.
Remember Operation Wide Awake. Operation Wide Awake in the 90s is what gave us the modern sentinel that looks like this. The thing is, Bastion didn't convert everybody to wild sentinels. That was a big change because, like, that's a big change in the wild sentinels, or prime sentinels, I should say.
Yeah, to me it totally worked, but I can see that they're definitely cutting out a lot of it. They don't explain a good portion of it. Like, what were all those weird models that they walked by that had the OZT on them? Like, were they just OZT, prototypes for it?
So here's the thing. Cable only knows the way to defeat them is by using an EMP, which in theory, right, knocks them out. But it's like, well, basically, right, Cable then arrives and says, well, it's Bastion you need to stop. Explains Sinister's working for a greater and they must be stopped. Go like, oh, what is Sinister's doing? But why would Sinister work with Sentinels? Bastion, the threat is a larger threat, and everyone knows it's Bastion because it's kind of like, I like the foreshadow. Like, this is if you skip the intros and the end, the mid, the exit, you miss a lot. And basically, Bastion reveals he actually found the transmission from the Shi'ar Empire. The X-Men didn't even know they were alive. And then that Magneto is alive as well. But he does confirm, well, there's a part later on. I guess it's unconfirmed that the Morlock under him died, though.
It
So,
is pretty damn confirmed. Like, I think it's the next episode where Magneto says that he watched Leech's eyes as he was vaporized. So it's like, I think it's pretty damn confirmed that Leech did not make it out of that. But yeah, that poor
so,
Morlock kid.
and it's presumed, well, Magneto is. Now, I'll let you cook. I need to go AFK a second. Then we're going to get into the Tolerance's extinction arc. This is when you start to see the Operation Zero Tolerance go into.
So I don't know. I guess I just wish that they had kind of like explained what those like prototype sentinels were that they walk by when they're making their way to Trask. But I don't know. For me, I understood it. I really liked the idea of having these like sleeper cell, almost impossible to kill ones. And then, my God, where they kind of go from there is just amazing. I loved now I'm forgetting the name of the episode, Tolerance's Extinction. That whole like 3-part arc, for me, the whole thing just kind of worked. And I wish they had done a little bit more of that type of arc for this whole season. I think there's so many of these storylines that really could have been fleshed out if they'd just given more time. I can understand some people saying that, like, you know, Rogue wouldn't be a killer and she wouldn't do this. I can really understand kind of where she was coming from. And my God, the voice acting on Rogue, a lot of people were kind of complaining that she sounds a lot older. I mean, granted, she is, but my God, remember it, her voice acting there, and then just the pain that she has in Bright Eyes. I think she was just amazing in this.
So the thing about
Lenore Zahn definitely needs a huge shout out. Like, she is awesome.
So here's the thing about Operation Zero Tolerance, which this was a Marvel storyline that if you read it in the early like E for Extinction, it is a bigger deal because it's not like Prime Sentinels were harder to create. It's not like they were. They are powerful. Like, Rogue gets her ass kicked by it. Now, the idea is they played up a lot. Basically, it's funny, by the way. Like,
it's not just Rogue. It was the entire X-Men got their ass kicked by just one of them.
Yeah, they actually play over it. Like, it is a thing. It's called... See, it was done initially. Operation Zero Tolerance was done in September of 97. May through November of 97. And the unironic part, it was done in the aftermath of the Onslaught saga.
Yeah, I think Onslaught is kind of what got me out of it. I wasn't the biggest fan of Onslaught.
Onslaught's weird, right? So it goes the Prelude. See, technically it's supposed to be Jubilee who gets captured. The idea is Bastion's from a future, as I said. He realizes something is because Bastion's trying to defeat the X-Men to do whatever. Because the concept, this is the difference in Bastion's origin. Bastion did create the thing, but he also lived a human life. But he is also part of the Master Mold Nimrod thing in the future that realizes humans are the problem.
Which they kind of get to in season 1. The Master Mold has already figured out that humans are the problem.
The early part that... Because
just in season 1 of the original animated series.
It's always
they were saying humans are the...
It's always that the humans
will be replaced.
Well, that's actually been a big deal with the ones. Like, he knows humanity is the problem. It's always the humans that screw up the things because they're too hopeful. That's why he made the Prime Sentinels. Now, It does have it where Gyrick spins the story, attacked American authorities in self-defense, right? Uh, it's like all are captured, right? Because by Prime Sentinels. And that's not a secret because they are powerful. Now they're able to seize the school kind of thing. And there is Cable, right? But and it goes eventually to because there's a whole thing of they have to tell him because it's the government that shuts him down, basically. Like he goes back in time. It's kind of like the idea Skynet realizes it has to go back in time and invent itself. If you're familiar with that.
Oh yeah, the fun loop that I love the weird Terminator logic loops, but that kind of makes sense. I like the way that they kind of cleaned it up again, like omitted a whole bunch of it, did it really abridged, but I don't know, for me that kind of works. But I love the idea of these like sleeper cell, Prime Sentinels.
Here's the thing, it's a funny thing when they learn about Bastion's origin, right? On the run, they actually find like the home. They just have they just adapted this. So it really ends with S.H.I.E.L.D., right? Telling him to stand down, or they're just going to use all their stuff to blow up all the Prime Sentinels. and Bastion himself. Because even Bastion, I mean, who you want to fuck with? Do you really want to fuck with S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, and
I mean,
I don't know if they. I think it's kind of cleaner not involving them, but you would think that more of like the Avengers or anybody else would have been somewhat involved in this whole.
I think a lot of the theory is in this universe is the Avengers are still at the hand of the government.
That's what Captain America certainly implies. Enough to the point that I wasn't sure if it was Captain America. I thought maybe it was going to be, what's his name, U.S. agent or whatever. But no, it was Cap, and he is controlled by the orders.
Now they do go this is in this episode, if you remember that. They go to Harmony, Pennsylvania, where he turned his whole thing. I mean, his father was infected, and then it made him, so he had been like a technopath. Now, they're saying they're using like the techno-organic virus kind of thing. Like, now, it does have the whole like plot convenience that the prime minister that is alive releases Magneto at the end, because you get that whole origin of, I mean, Bastion is that powerful, but he realizes Sentinels need mutants to fight. This is actually where in that Powers of House and Powers, well, Powers of X and House of 10 or House of X, both storylines do imply that the machines just use use mutants. Then they turn the rest of humanity into machine-like beings. For that is actually Sentinels are get the idea, the Dominion, the Phalanx. That is paid off more in recent years because the idea that you have like merging, like, see, Gray, I'm gonna have to touch you on the idea of Lord Rift versus the change in artist, how they envision previous works. Do they use previous works to imply? This is the creativity that Marvel's lacking. You can adapt an old storyline and change it, or you can use it and advance a story, as Marvel was doing early in the House of X and Powers of 10. Which I recommend that is actually when I say Marvel lost that in the last, 4 or 5 years. Death of the writer. Creativity is a big one. So you go through this, right? Now, you have Beast who screws with him, and it activates a bunch of Sentinels, including the reporter, which they start destroying the mansion as whatever else. Like, he has to subdue the X-Men. He takes the mansion by force instead of just people walking in and taking it over. Now, Magneto eventually gets released, and when he does, Magneto causes the worldwide EMP, which that's at the end of it. So that's Gray is AFK. I like to share the. Okay, so on this part, right? That's when you're getting into Fatal Attractions. Fatal Attractions was done in the wake of Operation Wide Awake. Operation Wide Awake, and Magneto did that in response to basically them making Sentinels to wipe them out. Now, but Operation Wide Awake was done years ago. Now, it also ends right after this with X-Men with Charles relanding. Now, here's the thing about the Prime Sentinels. Okay. So the thing with the Prime Sentinels are you overplayed them. It's not like his movements, right? It's like Fatal Attraction's a very key storyline. Like, Magneto's not a hero, he's not a villain, he's not an anti. Like, he has been written like basically a villain. Like, I mean, supposedly his origin.
He's got a good arc, though.
Because, like, that's why I think it's weird. You start with zero tolerance, and then you're going to Fatal Attraction.
Well,
like, that's
I don't
actually
know.
Because I looked, I go, so when did he EMP? I'm like, oh, so that's Fatal Attraction start.
Yeah.
That's the so you're gonna do both. I go, so how are they gonna pull off that? Are they gonna deal with Bastion and like Second Coming? I'm like, okay.
But well, they got Gold Team and Blue Team, so you can do that, apparently.
Do you know what that is? No, that is a reference back to the 90s X-Men.
Yeah. I was just being facetious that they've got 2 teams now, but you know.
The thing is, but they don't. Here's where they miss the mark. They don't.
Well, why would you take Wolverine to the team that's dealing with the guy who controls magnetism? But fair enough. It gets us to the Fatal Attraction one.
There's a thing about that moment in Fate. I need to own that comic eventually. It's
it is iconic. I remember. Didn't it have the holographic card on it too?
It's not like the most. It is one. It's not as expensive as you think either. It's very.
No, I remember from back in the day. I'm pretty sure I had that one back in the day.
Like, it's also that moment before we get there. It's like the concept, because it does have Xavier lands like Elandra did from the first. Like at the end of the episode in To Me My. So the whole thing, this is where I think part 2 is the weaker of it.
It has some moments though, because you get the battle with it does the adamantium part in part 2, right? Yeah, because Wolverine's out on all three. So I don't know, like that
Well,
part is
okay, before
iconic.
you get to that moment, they set the stage for that moment. You have it where you're going to deal with Bastion. You're trying to deal with
Yeah.
Bastion, and you're trying to deal with both Magneto. Now, here's the thing. All Magneto did was do an EMP, which temporarily sent humans back to the Stone Age.
Supposedly he did a little bit more than that, though. Like he turned off Earth's magnetism, so
I hate that.
eventually everyone was just going to die.
That's a nitpick. I'm not going to nitpick.
Yeah.
That in the modern era makes no sense. Like you see him fly.
Yeah.
That is a big one that people have issues with. This is where I was like, I start to see little stuff like, and it makes sense that not even the Prime Sentinels would be able to be reactivated.
Yeah. And it's, yes. And the whole EMP thing, like, since they mentioned that it's EMPs, okay, well, then everything that has electronics in it would be fried. Like, you can't just flip the switch. It's not flipping a switch.
Everything that is not like EM protected,
yeah, is basically done.
Gone. Like that would be like it would not.
Okay, we've got superheroes. I guess I could believe that it's some sort of special electromagnetic pulse that doesn't fry everything, but instead just turns it off.
Okay.
Maybe I'm willing to
there's willing
to suspend disbelief for that, I guess.
Of how powerful Magneto is. All right.
Oh, it's not how powerful he is. It's just that something like that could happen that wouldn't damage all electronics.
Magneto understood his power and his potential years ago. He didn't always use it. So the concept is he goes to a ley line of the earth and he
makes sense. More powerful.
Power. Yeah, so it's like near the pole, like doesn't. He could have always done this years ago, but it's very much a dramatic action. Now, arguably, it does make sense thematically by the show. They do this post Genosha, that post ether extinction, but in reality, it was done in response to Operation Wide Awake.
Yeah, they are kind of muddling a bunch of time frames up, but I kind of like how they're doing it.
The execution.
So I know that Genosha just happened, so a whole bunch of mutants are gone. But I'd have to think not every mutant was on Genosha at the time. So when he does raise Asteroid M and is, accepting offers from any of the X-Men to come with, and only Sunspot and Rogue go with him, it's like there should be more mutants on his side. It shouldn't just be the three of them to repopulate mutant existence where everyone else is going to die in Earth on this ticking clock within, I can't remember if they said the next 12 hours. There was some sort of time frame that, like, if they don't restore the magnetism.
Writers don't understand how it works.
I get that they're kind of writing themselves into a corner if they have a whole bunch of people on Asteroid M, but just the fact that it's so small, it's just the three of them. And that's it. That's all that's going to be saved. Everybody else on Earth is going to die.
Here's the thing about this is where the writers were retarded. All right. Magneto strips the protection from the thing that generates electricity. Right? Okay. See, when we went to space years ago, we found out it wasn't until the Apollo program we found out about the different fields around the planet. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's funny because people don't know this. When we actually went outside of Earth, we discovered an entire new way our atmosphere works. Now, it would take hundreds of years of solar storms to wipe out the Earth.
But what if the magnetism in the Earth just stopped because somebody shut it off?
To be fair, all Magneto would have to do is fucking stop the spinning of the core.
I think that's kind of what they're implying that he's doing. Like, I don't know. It's a little ambiguous. They just said he shut off Earth's magnetism.
So he said so one is what he initially did was he turned off the thing that protects the Earth, which would have condemned humans to being death, not shutting off the magnetism in the core. Now, that is a separate. That's what. Do you remember the movie where they had to go to the center of the Earth to detonate an EMP to restart the Earth? Yes.
Yes, and a couple of other fun ones like that.
So, like the idea that what keeps the Earth's magnetic sphere running.
I'm willing to suspend disbelief on that. Like, we have superpowers and everything. Maybe they could do something like that. But man, it's got to be more than 3 people. Like, his arc is very small at this point. Like, he doesn't even have the animals on it.
Now, if you want to nitpick that, that's actually the people don't understand. It would take like years or a massive solar flare to wipe out.
Or an Omega level mutant, possibly on ley lines. I don't know.
Because this is the problem.
That part doesn't make sense to me either, or how you could just flip the switch back on.
People actually had that, and that was the reason why basically he stripped it. Now, Charles is like, that's actually the weird part, right? And what's funny is you bring up, no one knew till Fatal Attraction at the end, Wolverine's claws were
bone claws, man.
That's one part.
Pretty awesome. That's how I learned it. That comic itself, the one with that splash pit, like, it is just so amazing. But it is iconic, even though it's really weird liquidy metal that's coming out of him. Not how I would have pictured it, but my God, it's iconic. And they hit the tone of that perfectly in this series.
You get to there, right? So the famous base of they go to Myrrh Island and get the old costumes kind of thing. You have
which wasn't horrible. I kind of hate Jean's costume, but the rest of them look great. I mean, I never liked that Jean costume. It was just over the top.
There's 2 parts, right? Because you're battling both Bastion and you're trying to battle people, right? So Bastion. Now, don't ask me why Sinister is just working with Bastion. When Sinister,
he's promised that he will get Nathan Summers, so he's getting Cable out of this. That's his reason. That's all he needs.
Here's the funny thing about it is, right? The perfect mutant is supposed to be X-Men.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's supposed to be Cable, or it would have been had he not infected him with the techno-organic virus.
Gray is it? Now, X-Men has been utterly written out of most of the comics. He is as powerful as like Legion, which is Xavier's son.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to. I don't know if they'd go somewhere as heavy as that with this.
But you see Nate Gray in AOA, which we might be getting. So you're going through, right? The others, like, basically Bastion is able to control Sentinels by technopathy.
And they seem really formidable. I'm sure you touched on it while I was trying to wrangle my dogs. But man, like seeing Nightcrawler and Wolverine just go like full into them, like full on blades, especially 3-blade from well, I guess each of them. But man, they actually seem like such formidable foes. In fact,
no, Wolverine
almost unstoppable.
They send Ford, Storm, and Jean to go.
I just meant in one Life Death, or not Life Death. What the hell is it? Tolerance is Extinction Part 1. Like it's the end of the episode right before the EMP. Just, man, the fighting of these Sentinels. I love it. They seem unstoppable and a huge, formidable foe.
They are, but we're talking, these are the older Sentinels. They're not like, now the whole thing, right, is where I do think it's a little weird. Storm gets shot down, falls to the ocean. So does Forge. It's like, oh,
well, if you're going to talk about weird things, what's the anti-EMP goo that these old school Sentinels are in? It seems a little weird. Just for some reason, Bastion has this goo, and the old ones are cool, but he didn't put any of the new ones in this goo.
Well, the idea, right? No, he's using it by his own nanites.
So is the goo nanites? I don't know. Like, it never actually explains what it is. It just seems that
he's a technopath.
Yeah. But, like he's reawakening these old Sentinels as opposed to any of the, Prime Sentinels or whatever. Where if he's using nanites, it feels like he could get
No, the Prime were fried.
Well, I know. And the thing that stopped them from getting fried is this goo that these old Sentinels are in.
The fact of you reactivate it, right? Now there's this big thing too, you see. And I don't know if I like this moment. They're like, how are we going to stop Bastion? Oh, I'm going to make a crown or a collar.
It'll be so easy to put that on him and keep it on him.
Actually, you just have to nullify his control over Prime Sentinels.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you have to do, and you're just dealing with him. Like, and Storm shocks the collar. Like, well, you forgot that moment. Or did you, Gray? So that's what they do before.
Sorry, man. Dogs again.
So it puts a crown on him that shuts down his control of Prime Sentinels. It's not like the concept of Magneto would have fried them. You get that whole, but you also have this whole thing too, where the two teams are fighting, right? One goes to Asteroid M, which should have been Avalon, but
why send Wolverine in that group? I don't know. Granted, what's he going to do against Bastion when, his claws didn't do much against any of the Prime Sentinels? So what would it be able to do against him? But what would they be able to do against Magneto? I guess one sneak attack.
No, the concept, right, is no. It wasn't until that point in Fatal Attractions you understood about how Wolverine's adamantium worked. It was bonded to his bones. Now, Magneto has a power set all to himself. Remember when I said about his powers? So there's a recent when he came back to life. He goes into this Orcus facility. All right. They go, we can deal with all of these people. Yeah, Magneto, stand down or we're going to murder you. This is actually one really badass moment. This tells you how powerful he is. So go back to before when he died. Uranus, basically, as he's called. He is Darkseid's uncle in the Eternals. Okay? Now, he gets unleashed to attack Arakko, which is now Mars. They got terraformed. The guy gets his heart shot out. He makes a metal pacemaker heart, pumps blood through it to keep him alive for hours or long enough to fight off the machines. Now, he can control the flow of his blood. What does blood have in it? Iron. Blood cells have iron in them. Now, Magneto's powers do have a scaling. This isn't like we don't get it. He is the master of magnetism and the master over metal. He can't rip off Colossus's skin, but he can throw Colossus around.
Yeah, that's why I always thought that he could do something to Wolverine since his bones are metal. But
now, Fatal Attraction,
I guess I
see what happens.
Thought it was an option.
Right, is the iconic moment. Now you see it in, I think, one of the X-Men films. He goes, if I try hard enough, Wolverine, I could rip the adamantium out of your body. Like in the Statue of Liberty moment.
Yeah, he definitely makes him stab himself there, where it seems like he's got full control, kind of like Cassandra Nova in the latest trailer thing.
So you're talking about, right? Do you remember that moment? Like
Yeah.
he goes like, if I try hard enough, Logan, I could rip that out of your body.
Yeah.
He does say that.
I guess I just always thought it was an option, but
like he goes, it's bonded to your skeleton, so he goes, I could do far worse to you, Logan. And that's the hint. Yeah. It's like they don't forget fatal attractions. Fatal attractions is very key. Now, this is that moment is where he does get gutted and lobotomized by Charles. They actually in there when his adamantium gets ripped out of his body. That is the cover from the comic.
Yeah, it is so iconic, and it just they did it such justice. Slightly different costume, but my God, it looks the same in that weird kind of ridiculous liquid metal way that they did it. But man, I love the way they're using like modern filmmaking kind of shots to then get to these amazing like iconic covers or like splash pages. It's
now
just,
the funny thing is,
it's amazing.
As soon as you knew how we knew that moment was coming was when he got stabbed.
Yeah,
because that is the moment where like, oh,
gloves are off.
Oh shit! Because that is the moment that actually in the comic, and Wolverine gives him the speech in like a period of a nanosecond. Like, remember what I said about his powers? When he goes into an Orcish facility in recent, they're bound in metal. They go, we have anti-metal armor in this. Okay. Your armor's anti-metal or anti-EMP, right? But parts of your body and your bone aren't. He, in a span, I have to find the image. He turns them into metal balls.
Damn.
Yeah. Really cool. So
it seems like they're willing to go there with this series, where I don't think they would have with the previous X-Men animated series or any of the Fox movies. This just, I don't know what they could do.
I have to find the image. So Magneto's like, they're like, stand down, Magneto. We're going to kill you. He literally turns them into, and he's thinking to himself, I learned, what helmet should I wear? Kind of thing. And with the different Magnetos. And it's split second. He takes the metal. He can't rip it off of him, so he kills the people.
Well, it's nowhere near that big, but I guess we kind of glossed over it that Charles was getting to Magneto, so his move was to put his own helmet on Charles's head and then start compressing it.
I don't know if I like that fight, though. Like, the resurrection of Magneto, like...
I was saying, like, it shouldn't just be the three of them versus the X-Men. There should have been more mutants, but it does set up everything that they're going to do with season 2 and everything in a different way so that we don't have to... They would certainly paint themselves into a corner if we had a whole bunch more. But yeah, I think it kind of sucks that we're getting a Rogue and Roberto fight against, the X-Men.
I don't know.
But
so they basically, right? It's so strange. So, like, he, like, when you look at the page, so you say he can't control particles or he can't control blood. Like, yeah, you're like thinking, oh, can he not? Because it's definitely a power scaling thing. Because if I find the image and like...
And they're already calling him, like Omega level, so...
Oh, that's actually a weird one. So, like, because that's actually the moment he gets gutted. Like after that, see, they do that. Like, and it goes into the episode. So, like, part 3, right, goes with Wolverine critically injured, right? That's actually the idea. I had to refresh myself. He basically takes control of him, but he lobotomizes him. But he realizes Magneto's going to die. I guess you have to realize you have to stabilize him. This is like, oh shit, because this is the part where, like, actually, part 3 gets a little crazy, though. Like, the thing in Magneto's mind, right? He just goes into a coma. He shuts down his mind. Then he gets cared for on Mer Island. That's actually what happens in the other. Jean also, you forget, got blasted by Cable. Because apparently you can... There's actually, they missed a key moment in this. Their daughter is actually supposed to go back in time and meet Cable.
Yeah, instead it was Bishop. But you do get to meet her in the next episode, sort of.
Basically, or Ascanti, or like her, like that, the daughter of Jean Grey and Scott is supposed to meet Cable. Because she has a whole like thing like Cable. It's weird. I wish, I really do hope if they show Apocalypse, they show Strife.
I'm not sure if we're gonna get, so that
they
I do
have
some questions as to what you think the predictions
before
are
we get to that. There's a whole speculation. So the concept, right, is, bear in mind the intros to the Tolerance is Extinction. Not only does it have it, it keeps having flashbacks to Apocalypse. That is very key.
Well, I think for like 6 episodes, we get a scene of Cable shooting Apocalypse, but you know, we have Cable in this, so it kind of led to speculation. Are they showing us this Apocalypse, or are they showing us just Cable? I kind of love the payoff that they're doing.
So they show Cable, right, at the beginning. So now the big thing, right, is I guess you do have the miniaturized where they places the collar, right? Because the thing about the collar, where he thinks Jean Grey is dead, apparently Jean can still tap into the power of the Phoenix. I think that's a Deus Ex Machina from recent, that the Phoenix is tied to Jean Grey. That is more or less the, I guess, in universe. She
It's also been really messy, almost as messy as the Madeline Pryor thing.
The idea of how connected the Phoenix Force, like, this is a problem with the fall. I think the show was written around the Fall of X era. Like, literally, that the reason why the Dominion that stops the techno future, that's actually Nathaniel Essex. It's not Mr. Sinister, okay? He used his 4 clones to obtain Dominion status. All right? If you set that set in, it's the original Nathaniel Essex. Now, this is how messy the Phoenix lore truly has gotten. Phoenix lore, the reason why he killed the Phoenix, like, the Phoenix was actually needed to die to domain Dominion status, because the goal of the Phoenix is to always to be able to destroy Dominions. Basically, Dominions are basically only one universe can have one Dominion. So the concept, right, is it goes into the recent issue that actually own it. I do buy key issues, contrary to popular belief, unlike Dane, who just reads them online. And other people.
I was gonna say, sadly, I'm in that category now. I've brushed up on a bunch of these, but I don't have the physical.
I don't like how Fall of X is going, or how they're trying to explain the book, because it has where Hope Summers, basically she has to reignite the Phoenix. And the Phoenix is tied to Jean Grey permanently. Even the old Phoenix from Thor's timeline, it was like supposed to be teased as Thor's mother, like 1 million BC kind of thing, looks like Jean Grey. Now, do your conspiracy theories there, go through it. They can't figure out what they want to do with the Phoenix. The Phoenix is this all-knowing power. It's just, like, it's not just a destructor, it's also a rebirther. Like, Jean can literally put herself back together with the Phoenix because the Phoenix is tied to her. Yeah. Basically, it has the moment where the Phoenix has to get stronger to take down the Dominion. So the Phoenix can never truly be killed, but it also has the point where all Dominions fear the Phoenix. Yeah, call that messy writing. For
yeah, I was just thinking about like which one is the real Jean and is she just they've brought the Phoenix back so many times. I wasn't fully aware of this latest one.
Basically, bear in mind, in the modern era, they have said that the Phoenix is tied. Literally, Jean could rebirth herself. So,
so Moira isn't the only one.
The concept is right. She is Jean. The line I think they use, kind of thing, is Jean, mother to a lot. Mother to all, but something like never gave birth. Does that make sense? The comic book said it better.
I mean, as much as it makes sense when they
mother
put it there.
To a lot, yet never. It's like a mother to a lot, but never a mother herself.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand the words. It's just like, okay, but there are timelines where she's had children with Scott. So I don't know, but fair enough.
The concept in this one is she doesn't. Yeah, and then you do get the payoff in this, right? So Bastion does, but Bastion also has that moment. It's kind of in Second Coming before he gets vaporized as well, where he has to stop. Because, so they initialize, the big plan is, I guess we have the plan to stop Magneto. We're going to blow up the asteroid. But they don't realize humans are about to kill themselves.
Or at least attempt to.
Go, hey, what happens when an asteroid slams into the Earth?
Well, I mean, nothing. If I remember my arm,
you mean
Megadon.
Nothing like the concept of... Do you know how big Asteroid M is? Asteroid M is big enough to kill a planet. Because
the hope was that it would just vaporize in midair. I guess that's what they were banking on.
Okay. But there's enough movies and enough things. Even NASA...
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. It's not a good plan. I'm just being facetious.
Even in, like, the movie Asteroid years ago, said they're made of so dense iron to prevent... Like, just to give you an idea, between now, the 2020s, to about 2050, there's actually been a funny thing about this century. We have so many asteroids that are planet killers. Like, we have, like, Apophis is supposed to come near us late 2020s. Then there's another one. There's, like, 3 or 4 within the next decade, okay? If they get within a hair's breadth of our atmosphere or our pull, our planet is gone. Now, they go, how do you save a planet from a disaster? You have to identify the trajectory of that planet, put thrusters on it, or move it decades in advance. You can't...
What if we just drill into it and put a bomb inside of it?
That movie is...
It worked for Bruce Willis.
Oh, so you're going to have more debris. Yeah, that's... No, it's so weird. Like the concept of this is why I was like, someone clearly has never seen, like they don't know, like you're not going to stop an asteroid. So basically, the gravity generator, they go, we're going to destroy the gravity generator. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it is kind of fun because they're bringing in like the Magneto protocols, but it's not exactly what they were from the books or anything like that. Instead, now it's nukes, which, yeah, like you mentioned, if you're not actually taking this threat out, you've now created a much bigger threat that, is eminently coming for your planet. It doesn't sound like a good idea.
Like, I mean, we're talking, you would have at least plunged the Earth into an ice age or like
Worse.
worse, because think of it this way. We have found the crater that wiped out the dinosaurs. We know
the one that the
where.
devil placed there. Yeah, we've seen it.
Have
Yeah.
You know where you know where it hit, right?
Yeah, I've seen the kind of satellite
It
photos.
hit from off the coast of the Yucatan. It's like in the Yucatan region. So hypothetically, right, if it lands mostly in water, it's less damage. You may have tidal waves. But if it hits land or dust goes into the atmosphere, you have basically a nuclear winter.
Yep.
That's so the weird thing, right? Because it's like that. It also hints at why people said you're going to have Avengers versus X-Men. That's actually the reason.
The Avengers were right there. It shows, Black Panther. It shows.
Oh, I forgot
Iron Man.
scene. I forgot the scene where Bastion, right before he says he's going to have to advance Operation Zero Tolerance, where he has the Prime Sentinels gain control of the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I totally forgot about that. Space that a second. Like,
yeah, and you also have Roberto and Jubilee being taken away by the Prime Sentinels as well.
Oh, his mother became the worst mother ever.
Like, yeah, I feel like that moment could have been handled a little bit better. I understand what they were trying to do with a twist, and then the allegories that they're making with it.
But the sad part about it is that's not her in the comics.
Well, the father would have been included too, but odds are he would have been at the Hellfire Gala, so he probably would have been on Genosha or whatever. So, yeah, they really changed a lot in this. But
now here's
fair enough.
Now here's
I find him less annoying than I found Jubilee in the first series, and he's kind of that character.
They have all the X-Men stopping to prevent an extinction event.
But not the Avengers. They're just sitting around.
Right. No, well, how do they stop an asteroid?
But there's
also this thing, like, you still have the problem with Prime Sentinels, by the way. But that's a problem for another day. Like, apparently, they Prime Sentinels can still breed and make more.
Yeah, and it was. I think we touched on it, but I loved them coming out of their sleep. It was kind of amazing. Like, there's the one scene of the family on a couch where all of a sudden the parents just become. It's kind of awesome and eerie, and I don't know. I just was not expecting that. So I love the kind of horror movie aspects they brought into this series.
Is he plans to use mutant labor to use, but if he realizes the Sentinels kill humans, Sentinels have no purpose. In Second Coming, post E for Extinction, he chooses to rebuild mutants to create Sentinels to give them a purpose. Till he's eaten and destroyed by Zorn, who has the power to create black holes.
Yeah, just a little tiny power.
Just a little tiny power, yes. But That's a whole thing.
You'd think they would have kind of thought about, destroying Asteroid M that way. I guess they were just banking on these nukes are going to actually take it out. But I guess we kind of glossed over the
basically it was going to cause a
battle
new
with Bastion.
So basically, you also have the moment where Bastion realizes there's a whole thing. They actually convince Bastion that he is actually a mutant himself, and Sentinels would kill him.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense. And then they pay off a story that Xavier told a little while ago. I can't remember if it was episode 1 or part 1. I mean, where he mentioned his mother coming to him, or him going to his mother, trying to get her to let Bastion join the school. She wouldn't let it, but apparently she told Bastion the exact opposite. Somehow he just believes them. I guess Jean is there. Maybe
you
she
also have
added
this
something
whole
to
thing
it.
of Bastion as a child draws the genocide of the mutants. Ugh.
Yeah.
There's a good thing. Bastion's a good villain. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I dug it because I wasn't too familiar with it. I think it was a good pull.
That the child's hand drawing is him, or that type stuff in the earlier episodes. Now, this is where you get to the one part that leads into the to be continued. So, Magneto's consciousness gets restored. They use him and other people to stop all the X-Men, to stop the Thing.
Can I ask you, before we get to that, did you think that they were going into Onslaught because they had the whole, the mind-shattering thing? And actually, I guess we kind of glossed over Magneto and Xavier's kind of commentary, like their dialogues in those bars.
You have the seed bed of it, because Charles, what separates Charles and Magneto is a sense of morality on right and wrong and ways to do things.
Yeah.
Like, even Blurred won't even say that they're not even civil rights leaders. But the idea is Xavier's dream hinges on hope.
Yeah.
Magneto,
it's two completely different mindsets.
Magneto feels you cannot change the nature. He says, unless you purge it from them, because he grew up in a war-torn region, and humans will always revert to evil unless they are changed through death or destroying them through war. That's always why you have like 2 or 3 different versions of Magneto. Yeah. Now, you also forget the moment everyone who's LGBTQ plus Morpha confesses his love to Wolverine.
Not necessarily. I could also see that as, like the best bud, like your best friend is dying. If you have the ability to, kind of give him a morale boost from, say, also his motivating
you forget
factor.
The beer scene when he tosses it up in the tree in the earlier episodes.
But he was Sabretooth at that point. So Bo DeMeo has fully
what about the shower? No, not the shower scene. Not the shower scene.
No. When he brings the picnic out to sulking Logan, where he kind of becomes Sabretooth and then they tussle on the ground. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it could be friendly. It could be a little bit more. But I don't know. If he has the ability to completely change his biology, I don't know that it really isn't kind of similar to Scott, if you will.
This is why it doesn't bother me. All right. People see this in the future. This morph is largely based on AOA morph. That Magneto that you see with the M on his chest is largely from Trial of Magneto, as well as what he looks like in AOA. Just saying.
Yeah, I really didn't have a problem with it. It seems like if there's one character that you're going to like kind of change, that's the character to do it with. And if you're going to like bring the whole non-binary thing, like that's the character. As well as Exiles. Yeah, they've kind of done other things with like Mystique and whether or not she's the mother or father of certain characters. I don't know. It's not the first time they've kind of played around with that. I'd probably feel different if they just took like I don't know, say Cyclops and said like, now he's non-binary and whatever. But Morph, it totally makes sense to me. And then, his predilection for liking Wolverine, that makes sense. Like, Wolverine is already in this weird love triangle thing that's now become a love square with Madeline Pryor in there as well. But then, hell, you throw Morph in there. Now, what is it? A love pentagram, love pentagon, whatever the hell this is. I don't know. I don't hate it. We've got another love triangle between Gambit, Magneto, and Rogue. It's kind of the soap opera-ness that is X-Men. I don't know. I liked this era of it. I think it was like kind of perfect soap opera. Sorry, dogs are barking. But yeah, I really liked it. To me, I didn't see that as like a super confessing his love, but instead trying to, encourage a friend in the best way possible. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that was him confessing his love through Jean. How did you take that line?
Okay. You got a lot of people that it's my issue with people like Blurred without fear, Blurred minus fear. The dude is literally like, when I'm starting to gain more respect for just some guy, you got a problem. And if you have not followed just some guy for years, he's a bisexual black man from Chicago who's an artist. And he's been on YouTube for years, but he is also an open progressive and an open liberal. So far, very. But I have more respect for him than I have for Blurred, who just morphs his fucking opinions for no reason. Like, these people, they, like, Dane has said, oh, they're a they, them kind of a thing. Right.
Who, Morph? Apparently, there is one time that they referred to their pronouns as they.
This version of Morph, I'll find an image of him. He basically, because I'm trying to look up, there's a
he kind of is the changeling version mixed with
it's the Exiles versions of him.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I have no problem with like he was a weird character to begin with, where they just kind of threw him into the show. But hey, some of the best characters are kind of throwaway ones from the shows. Like that's also how Harley Quinn kind of got started. That character has legs.
You think
I'm digging this version more than the previous one.
So we have. So I have to find this. So before I get into the idea, they laid the seabed for Apocalypse. So the thing is, right? It ends with the gravity generator. It explodes, and it has like the X-Men thing, like Days of Future Past, like people are dead kind of thing. Because like we have had this theory, where are the other X-Men? Where is Colossus? Where is Iceman? Where are these? People have had a theory that the reason why we're not seeing them is they've been converted into horsemen. Now, here's the funny.
It's kind of interesting.
Here's the funny thing about Wolverine getting his adamantium ripped out of him. Do you know the storyline how he gets it back?
Yeah, poor Sabretooth. Yeah, it is. So I don't know how many people have been horsemen, but Sabretooth, he was one iteration of the horseman.
Where did it come from? It came from Cyber. Cyber eventually broke his bone claws. Now, Cyber is a very... And then, as a thing, it's Sabretooth and Wolverine fight. They become the horsemen. Whoever wins, they become the horsemen. Wolverine won and got his adamantium back.
Yeah.
Then Jubilee later broke the horseman programming. So, go figure.
Well, can I ask you? So I guess we're to that part, right? So they're able to kind of prevent the asteroid from destroying Earth, but it blips them into different times. So
it sends
each time seems to be three different versions of Apocalypse, which it's been teasing all throughout. I think like the last
So
5 or 6
okay,
episodes all had
so
Cable fighting Apocalypse in it
okay,
in the
so
intro.
Cable and Jean, it goes revealed they're trapped in time. Cable and Jean are sent to 39, almost 4000 AD, so it's like 3960, because
Where we get to meet a
Mother
very interesting
Ascani.
character.
Okay, here's the thing about Mother
Did
Ascani.
you did
I
you get
knew
who
who
was
Mother.
voicing Ascani?
Uh, no.
It's Gates McFadden,
Who's that?
Dr. Crusher from Next Generation.
Oh, I don't remember
I didn't
her.
realize that was her.
So
I haven't.
here's the thing. Here's the thing about Mother Ascani. When Nate gets infected with a techno-organic virus or in the thing, she's the one who brings him to the future to raise him. Instead of Bishop going.
Which it looks like we just got a handoff between Bishop to Ascante, which I'm okay with.
She
Does
is
it
also
ruin anything for you?
she is also Rachel Summers in the future,
Mm-hmm.
which is the actual daughter of them. Now, arguably, that oh no, like you see her kinda like you get in when you get like I want to say like you get it there, like it's weird, like her powers, because she's that weird. So you get, and then you get the other half where Rogue, Nightcrawler, Xavier, and I guess Magneto, who bandaged himself, went back to 3000 BC, where they meet some Egyptian guards.
Which to me is kind of setting up one particular timeline,
Now,
but I think
this
you might see it
storyline,
differently.
this is going to tell the difference between people who know stuff, and this is where I think Bo DeMaio is a genius. A lot of people aren't going to know where that imagery is from. Some reason, little weird things stick with me because you do not know of this storyline unless you have read it. It's like Bastion, you kind of had to go brush yourself up on. It's like Blair's like, you don't know who Bastion is. But like the thing is, you have to do some reading or go back and read it. That is the Apocalypse from Rise of Apocalypse, which is a series that I was telling Gray, all the way from like 97 before, like in the reboot. This is Apocalypse's origin before he gets the. So you see in the ship, right, in the show, like in 97, right? In the show right here, you see a domed ship and a civilization built around it. That is Kang's ship, as established in the books of Apocalypse in the original series. And you're going to get, I may butcher the name if someone gets it wrong. It's Ramatut.
Yeah.
Where
I was
Kang
going to
goes
say,
back.
I can't remember which Kang it's called, but it's the something Tut. So do you think we're getting that tie-in to the MCU? Like, this is all leading up to, I forget what they called, what is it, Avengers 4, the Kang? I forget all the titles they've changed.
Like the concept of Ramatut, right, is Nathaniel Richards, which is Kang, goes back in time to ancient Egypt and rules it. Now, but eventually Apocalypse rises up, steals it, and that's how he gets his technology. He's also a very early mutant. He's like a second generation mutant. So the idea he's a father to mutants is interesting. And then the last flashback which is a young version, finds, and then the mid-credit scenes has Gambit playing cards.
Well, I guess before that, it shows Forge with his board, and you get Bishop coming back saying like they're lost in time, but you get kind of a view. Polaris isn't accounted for, and there's like I think
Quicksilver's
there's like
off
4 others
planet.
that aren't.
Some are off planet. People have,
Yeah.
that's speculation. They think it's there with the Inhumans.
Well, so that's what I was going to ask you about this next scene. So then the mid-credit scene, we show, so it would be in today's time, so the 97 timeline, you see Apocalypse and Genosha pick up the Queen of Hearts card. That to me is foreshadowing what was also foreshadowed in Life Death Part 2 with Professor X's vision. When I saw Gambit that way, I just thought, oh god, they're foreshadowing that he's going to be,
The
death,
Horseman of
Apocalypse
Death,
Horseman.
right?
Yeah.
Gambit can be, so what you're seeing, it is the Blood of Apocalypse storyline.
Which kind of makes sense. And when Gambit does join, I think Polaris is one of the Horsemen, and he joins willingly because almost every mutant has been killed. There are no more mutants being made, which I guess is what they're basically saying with Genosha. I guess
And
almost every mutant on the planet went there and was taken out.
It's supposed to be decimation, which, call it weird, I could see it being done.
But could you see isn't it Scarlet Witch who stops all mutants from being made or whatever? So we're down to like a handful of mutants, and then Gambit sees it as maybe Apocalypse is right, and this is the only way to kind of protect mutants or to continue mutants, and he willingly joins. I don't know. I kind of like this a little bit more if he's just resurrected as Death, but I don't know. It is a way that I think you could bring a character back that wouldn't seem completely horrible, and it's not just time travel. Never mind, didn't happen. But I don't know. That's going to lead to a really bleak kind of future. But with the X-Men being in 3 different timelines, I think you still could change things. I guess sticking with just this 97 timeline, do you have any guess as to who the other Horsemen would be? Do you think they're going Polaris?
It's going to be interesting because Blood of Apocalypse, right, is like, because there is a stronger version of Gambit that
there is an Omega level Gambit out there somewhere.
Well, that's the whole idea. Could he be like, technically Apocalypse isn't really like, he has his armor, like it's basically he has celestial armor. That's actually the big deal. Like his whole thing of Apocalypse believes his blood can restore mutants post decimation. Now,
yeah, he convinces some people. I think no matter how they tackle it in this,
Pestilence was Polaris.
Yeah, I can't remember the other ones. I really should look it up, but it's been a minute since I looked at that one.
These, right?
Well, there's been so many iterations of the Horsemen.
So here's the thing. He says, like, basically, so Blood of Apocalypse is weird, right? So in Revenge for Genosha, he says you cull 90% of humans.
Yeah. I mean, he did run the Morlock massacre. I don't know, or led them to it once they retconned that. I don't know.
You're gonna be getting into weird shit talking about the Morlock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, we kind of do get into some of that weird shit. So I don't know. I love the way that Bo DeMeo handled this. I love the fact that he got the second season completely written and most of the way done before his untimely departure from it. Man, I hope they give him the James Gunn treatment and bring him back, because this is the only thing I've been excited for in Marvel in over a decade. I don't know. This is the only thing that's given me hope and kind of faith. And I went into it kind of expecting to hate it. Like they had that one teaser trailer that it looked kind of cool. It was like the, TV set and like the tape, the VHS next to it. And then it kind of came up, but it didn't show you much. It showed you Gambit riding Wolverine into battle, but it didn't give you a whole lot. And then there was that strong push that, Morph is now non-binary. That was kind of all I heard about it
the thing
up
about
until it actually happened. And man, they were consistent and they stuck the landing.
Right? The other, right? I guess. Okay, so the second incarnation, right? Apocalypse turned Deathbird into a horseman. Caliban.
Yeah.
And like let's see. Like the idea, right, is it's so weird because like he takes the powerful mutants and turns them in. So it's like that's why a lot of people think the modern storyline is going to be the Blood of Apocalypse, which
I'm not sure, but I have so much more faith in Bo DeMaio and what he's done. I think there's zero shot that it'll be as bad as like Age of Apocalypse, the movie that we got a few years ago. It's got to be so far above that, but I hope they bring Bo back. I'm assuming he had quite a huge impact on this, being the showrunner and like the head writer. Supposedly he wrote season 2 and had everything all good to go, and season 3 was almost done. I hope we have consistency in it, but
well, to
I don't know. I can see somebody else getting in there and screwing it up.
So you also have the concept of Polaris giving birth to the Apocalypse twins. Oh,
it gets weird. I'm assuming they're going to take that out of there, but I could be wrong. When I saw the whole like Gambit tease and then on the board where it's not showing Polaris as confirmed dead, it's like, okay. But I wasn't sure who would be the other horseman. So I'm a little confused because technically we don't know where Logan and I think it's Storm are. So I don't know.
You could definitely have like Bands of Horsemen, right? They're all weird. Like
they are. Yeah, we got to do something to get Wolverine's claw or adamantium back. I don't know if he's one of the Horsemen as well. You could work that in by the end of the season.
Well, see, the thing is, he collects powerful mutants and then transforms them. That's actually why
he's going to be transforming from Fatal Attractions. I don't know. He's going to be the most powerful he's ever been.
I would have to say, because like trying to keep track of a lot of the Horsemen of Apocalypse have been weird for years.
For sure. I don't remember all of them off the top of my head.
There's a lot of the ones, like they are like the concept is Storm was at one point. You had Wolverine. You've had.
Yeah, famously Archangel. That's how you get the Archangel. But
you got an Archangel. Like, I'm gonna see which. Sorry, I have to look sometimes. But so what we're gonna get.
I'm just wondering, like, could they combine like a whole bunch of generations of the Horsemen? And because if I remember right, Storm and Logan are unaccounted for, right? Like it doesn't show them as either in the future or in the past.
So prepare yourself here. The first death and the 11th century incarnation of death, which is Genesis. If you excuse Genesis, him and Genesis's 4 kids, okay, is Angel, Caliban, Wolverine. Professor X was death at one point.
Oh fuck! I totally forgot Professor X was
Gambit, Psylocke, Sinjar, Javid, Storm, Banshee, Draken, Grim Reaper.
Oh, right. Banshee was one too. I forgot
Century at
about that.
one point was one of the Horsemen of Death. How the how does that work? What? Centuries of lore. So yeah, Famine that. What is that? Oh God, Ahab. I remember when Ahab was Famine. Sunfire. So it's like, and then you have Jebli. Pestilence is you have that, and you have that. Plague. See, Caliban has been several different ones though. So
Yeah.
like Caliban was initially, and War is there's been like Abraham Krios, Hulk, Deathbird,
Oh, yeah.
Gazer,
Hulk.
Decimus Furious, and Colossus.
Yeah. So I've heard a bunch of different speculations, like perhaps Colossus.
So when you get, that's
I
what
don't
I
know.
mean.
I'm just wondering if he isn't going to
That's what I
tie two
mean.
storylines
This is
together
why
and
when
get
I
Claws
mean you
back.
get into the who have been the Horsemen of Apocalypse.
Yeah, who hasn't?
Good luck. The concept of like the fifth, I guess, and I guess I don't know the century. How do you, without going into it, how do you convert century into a horseman? But you don't know how powerful the century is. It would make sense, but like Gambit though being resurrected or so, it wouldn't be beyond. Like that's why Angel, like it's like weird. Like he gets his. Like I started to think that's why people think we're gonna get 3 versions of Apocalypse in the next, which is going to be season 2.
Yeah. And
Like,
I think it's going to be apocalypse heavy, and they've kind of been foreshadowing that with the intros, which hell yeah, I'm all for it. I thought he was going to be the mastermind behind everything in the first one, and I'm so glad they went this route instead.
like so when he was the Horseman of Apocalypse, right? It's like, let's see. So I'm assuming that was in the. Actually, it's funny. It's done by the artist that Blurred loves too. By the way, is the one of death. Gambit is the. What's funny is you've seen the artwork for it, for like in the show for like 3 episodes. Like when he goes, "Well, my X-Men have died."
Yeah, I thought it was really foreshadowed in a great way. I assumed that's what they were going to do, and it wasn't just going to be time travel. It's going to be, okay, he's coming back as Death. And I think it's really awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing some white-haired Gambit. I think it's going to be awesome.
Well, it's the whole thing of you would have to. So yeah, like the whole idea, it's strange because so you have to go back, and that's in the Blood of Apocalypse series. Is where this one was.
Yeah, I definitely lost track of some of the Apocalypse ones, but I did like the Gambit as Death version of it. I think I completely read that run, but it was interesting. It wasn't what I anticipated. But yeah, man, I am really excited for whatever next season is going to bring.
Here's what I fear they're going to do. If it's done like Westworld, you're going to wait a year. Like,
I think they're definitely going to make us wait, but I don't know. I'm not sure if it's going to be a full year.
You're going to ruin the momentum, right? Because Disney does need good news. Because Disney has settled some of the class action lawsuits.
Yeah, some of them, but they're getting new ones. Apparently, they've got some new ones they may be facing.
Like people forget though, becoming a horseman does. Like he tries to eventually kill Apocalypse as well and retain. So it's like, um, people do forget though. Polaris is like the actual child of Magneto. She's powerful.
Yeah.
So
I think it could be fun if they're going to kind of introduce some new X-Men, at least in these different times.
So the concept, right, is, well, see, you could say the theory is they're going to confirm that Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch are not mutants.
Yeah, I think on the thing it said off-world on both of them, which...
So you could say living with the Inhumans, and mutants cannot be near Terrigen mists. So I think though, in terms like it's good. New Sun is the alternate version.
Yeah,
supposedly he had
Omega level.
Sinister alter himself so he can never become.
Yeah, supposedly he had Sinister remove part of his brain to keep him from ever getting so much power as to be New Sun. So I don't know. It could be kind of awesome if we're going to go that route. I'm not sure if they're going to go there with him, but man, they made Gambit trend. As little press as it got, Gambit was huge. So hell yeah, they really did a huge service to Gambit with this one.
I mean, it's strange with the concept, right? It's not like, but I do say, because the evolution of Rogue, right? She's able to battle people. Like, you see the redemption of Rogue towards the end of season 1, supposedly. But I don't like it. Like, when you get towards the end, that is Rogue's transformation. She willingly joins Magneto, throws the coat away. That's why a lot of people said she was destroyed.
That one scene, I really don't like it. I loved seeing her wearing his coat. I don't see her just throwing that at the professor and taking off. I think you could have still gotten her to take the Colossus role of going with Magneto without doing that to the coat. To me, that coat scene is just, it's a bridge too far. I don't know that it ruins the character for me, but it's not what I would have seen for that character. But I gotta be honest, I think her, after everything that she's been through, works as more of a turn, especially when she was on Genosha, when she turned down being like the queen of Genosha. Her turn as opposed to Colossus's makes more sense to me, instead of just Colossus was grieving, so now he's on Magneto's side. I kind of get it. I think that part works, but man, I wish they just handled the coat a little bit differently, because that's cold towards Remy. Remy deserved more for that.
So you got to understand as well, right? About
on top of not going to his funeral. Like, that's the final.
So the thing to it is, it's like suddenly she has this revelation. She cares for Gambit. Like when she battles apparently Bastion on Asteroid M, she goes, his name was Gambit. And then, like, what the fuck? Where was this Rogue for like 2 episodes?
And that's why I'm kind of the mindset that, like, it shouldn't have been Rogue, and it shouldn't have been I wanted to call him Sunspot. It shouldn't have been Roberto. I don't think those should be the only two that are fighting against them. I think she should have been one of them fighting Magneto. I think she still should have been opposed to that and been on Gambit's side, where this does seem like an inconsistent turn. You're not wrong. I really think episode 2 is not the best. Part 2 of the now I'm blanking the name of that Tolerance is Extinction. That one really is the weakest of the whole thing to me. A lot of people are saying like the Motendo one. I really liked that one. I think the life death aspect of it is weak, but as a whole, I think this episode part 2 of Tolerance is Extinction is the weakest to me. It just feels like there's some plot holes in it, and then man, what they do with Rogue's character, I understand her going into the rage. I understand the rage when she's fighting Bastion. I guess I don't quite get that turn with the coat drop. I want more for her. Man, the voice actress just made me feel so much. Lenore Zahn is just amazing, and I loved the end of Remember It, and then also in Bright Eyes, she just has so much passion in those line deliveries, but they do her dirty with the whole drop in the coat thing, and then just immediately being there to fight on his side. Like I said, I think it works a little bit better than the Colossus turn, but the Colossus turn also didn't work for me in the comics. So I don't know. I think they could have written that part a little bit sharper, but hey, if that's the worst part of this for me, this is still the best Marvel thing. And I don't know, since the original Iron Man, maybe. It's definitely the best X-Men thing I've ever seen put to visuals as any sort of moving medium, I will say. Comics are always the GOAT, but damn, this, I think, tops the original series for me. What's your feeling on the overall X-Men 97 experience?
If I had to rank a lot of the episodes, I do think some are good, some are not. Like I don't like that.
Which ones do you think are not good? Out of curiosity, sorry to dig into that a little deeper.
Like this is the one where I feel like it's very hit or miss, right? Not to sound before I sound like multi because I had to detract.
To me, it's like almost all hit. So that's why I was kind of wondering, like, what was miss for you?
So 1, 2, and 3 sounded good. Like I liked it to a degree. That now I would knock points off 3 because of the fact that the whole Abridging Inferno.
Yeah, Inferno's such an awesome timeline.
8 minutes.
Yeah, story arc.
He just goes, "I'm Goblin Queen." Okay. Fuck.
I mean, they use the name, so they got the whole thing, right? Even though there's no pact, even though you don't see Alex in his very skimpy outfit, and even though they kind of tamed down her outfit. Yeah, I'm totally there with you.
Now, I don't like...
but I love the Madeline part of it.
I think Motendo Life Death Part 1 was very weak. I like the first part.
Motendo part at all.
I like the Motendo part, but that should have been its own episode.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. It was kind of the life death part that let me down. I wanted more depth to it, like the comic had, and same thing with part 2.
Yeah, how my rating scale works is it's either going to be the perfect. Like I think like the concept of I think Fire Made Flesh was good despite the nitpick. Now
it's got some of the coolest animation with the horror movie. I know I already said this, but just that horror movie animation is just so amazing. I think that might be my second favorite episode of the series, even though they do screw up the Inferno thing.
No, I would totally, because I hate episode 4 with a passion. Like I think it was poorly executed on both fronts. Remember It is good.
Yeah, I think that might be my favorite episode of anything X-Men ever.
Now, Life Death Part 2, I didn't really like. It just had... Basically, I forgot to mention. Remember the part about the cybernetic legs? That's what he has to use to get around in Fatal Attraction. because EMPs were fried on the Earth, and EMPs
Yeah.
get fried.
That kind of makes sense. I mean, I guess they could still do that, but I guess he's not on Earth anymore, so I don't know.
Well,
I guess that's not going to be a thing.
They did do that, right? Because when he came back, he could have had the exoskeleton, but instead he had to go back to the rickety old chair.
Yeah.
Mom's.
Fair enough. I thought you meant like going forward with the other part of the Fatal Attraction thing.
Well, Fatal Attraction ends with him in a coma.
It kind of leads up to the Onslaught thing.
That's a big deal, and I don't think they're going to execute it because it'd be too hard.
Yeah. I think they just kind of paid a little bit of homage. Like, this could be Onslaught.
I thought Tolerance is Extinction Part 1 had good moments and bad moments.
I thought the visuals were just amazing. I thought that whole car fight and the Summers family, why would they have a Porsche in the Blackbird? Who cares? That was awesome. I love that whole thing.
No. I think they stuck the landing well. Like, I think there's parts of it, like the lowest I would say of anything is like a 4 to me or a 3 would be in the realm of, I would say, the first part of Bright Eyes, Life Death Part 1 and 2. Motendo, I think, it's enjoyable, but it's still missing something.
One question: when you say 3 or 4, are you talking out of a 10 scale or out of like a 5 scale? Ooh, really goes that low. When I'm looking at like IMDb ratings, Motendo gets a 7, but almost everything else is like, and Life Death Part 2 gets a 7.9, but everything else is pretty much high 9s, but 8.7 is like the other lowest one. So that's kind of interesting. But all the Tolerances Extinctions get 9.4, so like they do get pretty high. But nobody sees the dip in Part 2.
So what do they rank Life Death?
The original one is 7.1. Motendo Life Death Part 1. And then Life Death Part 2, 7.9. So those are the two lowest ones. Everything else is 8.7 or higher. Oh, excuse me. The very first episode, Come to Be My X-Men, is 8.3. So it's still a pretty high rated show if 7.1 is your lowest. And that's Motendo Life Death 1.
So I just have that weird scale of if they're doing fine, like, versus.
Yeah. Which, hell yeah. And sadly, I've heard, so we don't have the exact ratings or anything like that, but sadly, they did kind of release that it did worse than What If. So
now,
that's not.
Now you've got to have that pushback, because I've heard from Blurred and these other people, like Robo and them, and all these people are like, well, X-Men 97 was so good. It did all good, but it still flopped by ratings because they only aired that on Disney Plus, and a lot of people canceled Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are watching it on the high seas as well. I don't know if you ran into this. So I do actually have a Disney Plus subscription. For like a week and a half, it wouldn't let me into my stupid account. Like, it kept telling me I needed to enter my gender. So like I would choose it. It would send me in a loop where I kept having to enter what my gender is and then like confirm it like 3 different times. So I tried every gender and it was broken. It wouldn't let me in. So I ended up watching a couple of the episodes on the high seas, even though I had the stupid account. It seems to be fixed now, but that couldn't have been good for the ratings. I can't remember if that was, I think that was episode 9 and 8 that I had that problem with. But yeah, it sucks with something that's this good that, rightfully, from everything else that Marvel has kind of pumped out recently, it shouldn't be on this level, but it is. I know it's getting critical acclaims, but it doesn't seem to be getting the views, which sucks. I want them to get the views so that there could be a public outcry to bring Bo DeMeo back. I'm not positive that he is the secret sauce in this, but I love what we got out of this first season, and he seems to be getting the credit for it. So What the hell? James Gunn treatment. Bring this dude back. Unless it's something so egregious that nobody would ever disagree with it. From the rumors, it seems like it might be a morality clause, and he's somewhat hard to work with. So if it's just that, whatever. It led to this, which is great to me. So I want to bring it back. I'm just saying. We need that secret Bo de Mayo sauce. Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited to rewatch this whole season, and I can't think of anything Marvel that's I've wanted to watch again. So I don't know. This just seems to exist on a whole new level for me than anything they've done in the last, I want to say decade, but certainly any of their shows. I can't think of one that I was just like dying to watch again once it was over, or one that I was dying to see the next episode, like the next week. I really hope they come to their senses and bring back Bo. Justice for DeMayo. Yeah, I think for me, I don't think I would have rated any of them quite as low as you did. Even with not liking the life death parts of it, I really liked Motendo. Um, I think my two lowest would be Life Death Part 2 and then Tolerance is Extinction Part 2. I guess both of the Part 2s to me were kind of the lowest of this series for me. But I don't know. I got to say, even them being the lowest, I thoroughly enjoyed myself in them. And a lot of people have kind of come at Bright Eyes a little bit. I really like that episode. To me, that worked really well. So I don't know. It's both the part twos that kind of get me a little bit down. But that being said, it's still a slight bump in a really good show.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I agree. Despite you outing yourself as liking Bodemayo's abs.
Hey, I'm just chilling with my main man. We're just broing out over here, Mustard and DeMayo. Hey man, if he's
By
working
the
that
way,
hard to
I
get
gotta
those
admit
abs,
though, the cameos are good. But they did say with season 2 or season 3, they are going to observe his ideas.
I hope so. I hope there's a chance that they'll bring him back, but I don't know that he's the secret sauce in this. He just seemed to be passionate about it, and you could still see him on Twitter, like answering fans' questions and kind of keeping up
Well,
with these kind of.
he would give clues
Yes,
on
which
what.
if he was really, I would like to think if he did something so egregious that he would never be allowed back. Would he still have that much pride in his work where he would be doing something like that?
I don't
So I
know
kind of
what.
believe the rumors that it might just be the fact that he
I
has an
don't
OnlyFans
know
page.
what they.
And if it
show.
is, that sucks, man. Get with the times, Disney. Let people do their own thing on their own time.
I would say what gets weird, right, is because okay, there's some weird stuff, right, that's like strange. Like you see it from a perspective in entertainment because it's good, but if they wait too long, they're going to lose that fire that they have with the show. It's because it's not like Goodwill, because as I said, I had to go AFK to go check on something.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're not wrong. If they don't strike soon, it's not like there's much press about this because there's not a ton of people watching it, which sucks. It deserves more.
It deserves a lot more. Like, it's not like you need, like, you absolutely need these things. I'm just going to say, like, the concept is, you're going to have to, because if they do what they did with Westworld, and part of the reason what killed Westworld is they waited too late. They
Yeah,
would
I know it
go
killed a lot of
2
the
seasons.
goodwill. They were getting like amazing reviews too. I really loved the first season. I think
And
it was
they're
like
like, we're going to
almost
wait
2 years or something.
They're going to go, we're going to wait like a year or 2 years. And like, no.
I know it fell off a lot. I hope they don't do that here. Supposedly, season 2 is already in production. Like, it was written a long time ago. Supposedly, like, the animation is already almost done, but I don't know what that means. I know it's kind of the same animation that they're doing for, like, What If or whatever. So apparently, they've got a pretty good machine to kind of pump this out, if you will. Like, they have the process down. But I don't know how soon they'd be giving it to us. I'm assuming it would be 2025, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, like
Ideally, when would you get the next season if you were to release it?
Where would I do that or no?
Well, when? Because we're like already May of 2024, so
I think they need to go like the Gotham did. They need to do like they did Gotham.
How soon did they do that one? Like, was it 2 seasons within the same year, or?
It's like 2 seasons. It's like 2 parts within the same year.
And, you know, like with 10 episodes, it kind of seems like you could do that, but I don't know. That's just kind of the way some of these shows are going.
So Gotham had like a post Super Bowl thing, and then going into the other, like it would take like a break, and then they would do a split up season. So let me see. Go back and I don't know. Gotham's that really good show. So okay, so here's what they did, right? So they had it where, so see, the first season goes from the 22nd of 14 to May 4th of 14. Now, what they do is, but there is 22 episodes in the season. Okay. So there's like 22. See, I think it's eventually they start breaking it off. Like they do a mid, like they would do like that mid season. Now,
it'd be kind of cool. I don't know if I don't know, since like animation costs so much, but then again, so would the production on something like Gotham. So
okay, so
I don't know. I guess I don't.
So season 2 is when they start breaking it up. So you have Rise of the Villains, which is 23 through 30, so which goes from September 21st, 2015 to that, and then they pick up the Wrath of the Villains in 16 of the next year. They break it into arcs. Then they did in the last season, 4 is when they did it all together. Kind of, I guess, is weekly. But you could easily have a break and do it. And I'm not saying you can't. I mean, it would not be messy, but it is. It could be. I mean, you get what I'm saying, right? It's weird.
I do. I really hope they give us the next season as soon as possible. I hope they don't wait a full calendar year. If they have to wait till 2025, I hope they give it to us in January. But
you're going to lose whatever momentum you have, because it's kind of like Shogun was seen very good because its reception. So Masters of the Air, that I tried to get people to watch, or I tried to get you to watch earlier, that wasn't seen by many people.
I would have thought it would, just because of the Band of Brothers thing, but
no one really knew about it till later. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, television, it's like, it's getting murdered. It got like, you've heard about the Doctor Who ratings and how it got murdered?
Yeah,
Like
it seems like it
2.4
might have been more of an
overnight.
assassination, but
Like,
yeah.
oh, by the way, that whole dude, this season is doomed. So literally, he wants to do a death drop or a dead drop on an enemy. Oh yeah,
I mean, it does a
it's
lot
no
of damage.
longer made for kids. It's no longer made for families, dude. Like, Disney screwed the pooch, and they're probably going to drop it. British audiences have signed off on it. Not anymore. He's told them, like, fashion, right? How much do you know about the new Who? Or no? You there, Gray?
Yeah, I'm so sorry, man. It's the dogs, and my neighbor's moving something, so they're barking every 2 seconds. I don't know too much. I've seen kind of the thumbnails, and then you kind of briefly explained it to me, but yeah, it doesn't sound like the fun Who of the past. It seems like it's really agenda driven, and
what you
I don't know.
don't like
I
your
just
Doctor Who? You don't like it? Like in the first episode when he goes, literally the first line in the first, like the church, I think it's like the church on Abbey Road or like one of the episodes. He's dancing very flamboyantly in not a dress, and he goes, "Well, I just got." He goes, "I just got." This officer, I had a really long day, really long night. I just got snowballed and I want to go home. You're like, huh?
Yeah, maybe I'm just not familiar with British slang. Maybe it means something else, but
Oh,
yeah, it doesn't sound so family friendly.
There's literally a device they show later on in the show that doesn't look like a sex toy or fleshlight.
Well, I mean, the sonic screwdriver, it's very useful in many situations. Yeah, I don't know, man.
And then they have
when they kind of change the
Moon.
show.
Then they have Jinxie Moon, Jinxie Monsoon, who's like the other one.
Yeah, quite a familiar and famous individual. What a cameo to get. I
want you to understand.
No room to speak since
this is the dance.
I like a weird adaptation of
something.
Way,
this is the one you have to be reminded he's not gay. Every 5 seconds. So Disney apparently is struggling. So this is the scene in the club.
I mean, it looks festive. I got to be honest. I like the one in X-Men a little bit better, but fair enough.
But I mean, I'm not trying to shit on this show, but who is this show made for? See,
well, they're trying to find a new audience.
It's not a.
Yeah, he's Scottish, obviously.
Look. Look. Kilts part down the middle, so you can just explode.
Well, this one is for more convenience. He's also got pants on underneath, so it makes sense. Yeah, I don't know, man. It definitely seems like they're trying to change it. Like, so I don't want to get into it. If you want to have like the Great Velma debate sometime, like let's do it. But
no, I don't.
I don't know. At least with that, it's its own HBO thing. It's not meant for kids. It's not saying this is Scooby-Doo. It's saying like, hey, this is this new show. It's different. It's on HBO. This one's not doing that. They're still calling it Doctor Who.
This companion was supposedly fired. Like, she did her episodes and she's either going to be killed or be fired. Got let go.
Well, fair enough. She's extended her life, if you will.
All I want to know about Velma is, what did you... Okay, I tried watching it. I'm just telling you, I watched.
If you want to get into the Great Velma debate at some point,
we'll have to do it one day.
Let's do it. But yeah, I don't know, man. We're getting close to 3 hours now. I don't think we should do it on this episode, but I'd actually like to watch it again. It's been a few weeks since I've seen it, but I actually enjoyed it. Non-ironically, I like what they're trying to do with the characters, but again, they're not trying to say like this is Doctor Who, this is the new Doctor Who, this is what is going to be now. They're like, yeah, this isn't Scooby Doo.
Not
We in
really
fact
new.
couldn't even license the dog's name. Instead, what we're gonna do is our own fucking thing over here on HBO. It's not for kids. I like that. So I can see the parallels between an IP that has been drastically changed. Like, yes, both of these have, but only one of them is claiming to be like the official real thing. Where Velma to me is its own, it's its own multiverse version of it. It's not the real universe. It is one of those side ones, and I kind of like what it is, but it relies heavily on meta humor. And if you don't like meta humor, like where they're literally commenting on the joke that they're doing and how it is a trope, yeah, it's going to grate on you really tough. That's kind of what I've been hearing from most people is like the jokes aren't funny. It's like, well, maybe not to you. It is a meta humor type deal where they're, like the first episode, they're talking about, in the first episode of a show, they usually show more nudity than any other episode. And that is kind of the joke that they're doing that as they're saying it. That's pretty much the humor throughout the whole thing. For me, it kind of works. I expected to hate it. I heard, it's this super woke take on Scooby-Doo, and it's, just going to be Mindy Kaling, who I generally don't like, but she was one of the main writers on The Office, and it is kind of one of America's most beloved sitcoms at this point. I don't know. I didn't have my hopes up super high, but I got to be honest, it made me laugh. I enjoyed what they were doing. I didn't see it as super woke. I saw them as shitting on the woke character, which is Velma, and just making her always wrong and just the butt of every joke. I really dug that. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, so it subverted my expectations and it made me laugh.
So
that's why I like it.
I think what takes me out of it mostly is the meta humor.
Oh, I guess if we're talking about Velma, I should probably switch my outfit.
I mean, I don't know. I just think the meta humor that sucks the humor out of stuff is bad. Like anything that
for a lot of people, they mentioned like if you're gonna do it, do a little bit, and they don't just do a little bit; it's a lot. So I can hear you. It's not for everyone, for sure.
Say that's weird, definitely. That is a whole. But I should mention. So, how did you feel about Conquest of Planet? I mean, how'd you feel of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
I liked it a lot more than I expected to. Out of like the Monkey Glove movies or Primate with some sort of arm apparatus movies that were out this year, I think it's my top one. I wasn't expecting to like it nearly as much as I did. I don't know. I started feeling for the characters. I really liked the actual CG in it. It looked pretty damn convincing to me. I really saw these as apes, not just, digital images. So I don't know. It made me feel more than I thought I would. And it kind of drew me in. And that being said, I didn't like it as much as the first two ape movies. I think in the first trilogy, the third one, it could be all on me, and I could be wrong about this. But I remember liking the first two more than the final one. In fact, I only saw the final one once, where I remember rewatching the other ones before the next one came out. It is a series that I really did like. I loved the old Charlton Heston one. Well, I guess two. But yeah, I liked the series a lot. I really hated the Tim Burton one. But yeah, I wasn't sure kind of where they'd go after the Caesar arc, because it felt like, okay, that's everything we need to know. I'm kind of digging it, and I can see how they're going to put it into 2 more 3-part series, and maybe it will bring us up to essentially like the Charlton Heston arc. But yeah, I didn't hate it. I do have a few problems with it. It wasn't a perfect movie. I think I'd rank it slightly above the last one, which was War of the Planet of the Apes.
So the idea is a virus, right? I think at the end, like, ignore the whole idea that Caesar Proximus or whatever wants to. They are going away from the Class Ape system, though, which is interesting. Like you have the original, right? That goes and establishes that it was a plague that killed cats and dogs versus the other. Like, what is it? I put it like you still have advanced humans like living in a SETI facility, basically. Like, well, see, when Multi said he didn't like how like a thing would survive, I think like if that was a government doomsday bunker, that would have survived for a while, unless the
I think that's
mechanics.
kind of what they're implying it is, that it was like kind of the one of the plans. So, I mean, I think you were saying it before, like they're meant to withstand like even like EMPs.
Self-sustaining power.
Yeah. So I don't know. It does
Like it's
feel like a
literally
lot of that
built
would
like a
be.
hydraulic dam.
Yeah. It seems like it would be self-sustaining and that it would power itself. But yeah.
Now the whole
I
thing.
didn't view that as too I don't know, over the top to taking me out of it. It seems like that would be plausible, and I loved seeing kind of the cities reclaimed by nature and just like the overall kind of.
No, that would happen. Now the thing about in the old
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes films, I think even when one was like after they go back in time, humans still, but they live together, right? In the future, there's not a de-evolution, but the idea that the ape virus, because let's say let's say the humans aren't immune inside the facility. That's why she can't go back there.
Yeah.
So,
and it kind of makes sense. Like they're in the hazmat suits or whatever. But, you know, like Charlton Heston is the only one that can talk. Like whatever the virus is, what do they call it? Like the sapien virus? I can't remember what they call it. But
it was meant to cure like Alzheimer's and shit, and it winds up.
But it took speech away from humans so that they were no longer able to speak, and instead it was only the apes who could
You
speak.
see it too, because that's why when you see it's reminiscent in war, right? Like in war, as an example, he gets infected right at the end. Like humans could have effectively killed Caesar and probably retaken the planet, but
and that I do like the whole. I like where they're going with this and kind of the way that they're approaching it, as opposed to a lot of those sequels kind of took me out of the apes, but I love the original one. That Charlton Heston one is just
trying to
amazing.
work their way towards like not the Tim Burton one, but it's
hopefully
like the idea of the time travel that the apes could build civilization.
They set it up with the Franco one. Like I think it initially shows. I think it's a report of the ship, the shuttle taking off. I think it's on the TV first, and then you see a headline in a paper that's the shuttle is lost. Which fair enough. Who knows when it's lost till. But that does kind of set up the once you come back and hey, everything is different, and there's now these cities set up that are a little bit more furry than they were before.
Well, I think the whole thing.
I'm kind of looking forward to that. Do you think that would be? I think
what happened is what goes back in time is I think the apes went back in time and displaced the humans.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I know I've only seen like 3 and 4 a couple of times, or like one time way back in the day.
The new ones, right?
I remember 1 and 2 a lot better, but wasn't one of them kind of a prequel and it kind of explained some of it?
Yeah, like when he actually goes to Earth, he sees apes on Earth. He sees the Ape Lincoln Memorial.
Well, that's the Tim Burton one, the Ape Lincoln Memorial, Ape Lincoln. I really liked that take on it. I wasn't expecting to see Ape Lincoln, but nothing beats that Charlton Heston. Like, what? It was Earth all along. You damn dirty apes. I don't know. For me, that's just the best. And then all the sequels are not quite as good as that one. But man, it got me more excited for a monkey movie than I thought I should be. To me, it's a solid flick.
Right? He knows the apes need to advance because he doesn't know that was a satellite card.
Yeah,
But
they
in
kind of
reality,
don't know
right?
exactly what it is, and it kind of sets up that could they live together? Could they not? Who
Well, the
knows?
thing about the problem is, does it set the stage for like a mutant, the mutants that were living in the Alpha Omega bomb kind of thing, which is key to like they could go because it's only been 300 years or so since the fall. Okay, something like that. So it's
I think it's
only been.
supposed to be 300 years, but I can't remember. It's a couple hundred years since the fall.
So I would say, yeah, no. What's funny is if you ever look at the series Life After People, yeah, no, cities would be easily reclaimed. Like nature would overtake cities. Like everyone's like,
For
oh,
sure.
if we didn't burn, why do you
And I
think we
thought the
don't?
depictions of it were quite awesome
Why do you
in
think we
this.
don't find
Visually
Mayan?
spectacular.
Why do you think we don't find Mayan pyramids in the
Every
jungles?
once in a while we do, and like the heavy, I can't remember which was the last one that they discovered, but
We
man,
do it.
it's kind of
You have
awesome.
to like because the jungles will grow so fast and overtake.
Yeah, which is just amazing. Nature, man, it finds a way. Dr. Ian
Yeah.
Malcolm had it right.
Now, I guess on the way out, do you want to like touch on do you want to like touch on the very very bad present news that happened?
I don't know anything about it. If you want to, I'm down. If you want to call it, it's been like 3 hours. I saw like clips and then the picture and the slight like whatever you call that, the information that goes along with the
So
docket. I don't know.
the docket and it's being see okay. A lot of people were following Ricada like since the
Yeah, I was a
whole
big fan, man. During the Rittenhouse, during the Johnny Depp
yeah.
trial, and even the Vic Mignogna one back in the day. Dude basically invented LawTube, so it's really kind of sad to
Even
hear
like
the fall
a
of
lot of
Rakita.
people, no one's wishing ill of him. You have a lot of people who want him just to get better. I kind of predicted, like, after he turned on Eric July, like, he had this whole thing where he started switching out his people. So he changed his audience. You know what I mean? Like, he changed, like, that's what happens. It's weird. So
Yeah,
the
there's a
Ricada
lot of
thing,
people really blaming like Dick Masterson for this. Like, I don't
so,
know.
okay, from what I know, and I used to watch him a lot and check into him. I watched him. So Legal Mindset said it best the other day. He said like he stopped streaming with him because he kept not getting better. Like there was
Mm.
pictures when EVS was trying to talk to him the other day. Like he says eat pie and he goes, "Why can't I have whiskey with my pie?" Now, insert the meme of why smoke cigarettes when you can just eat and look like Rob Reiner.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
do
don't know.
you know that one from
I
South Park?
do. Yeah, no, I get you. It's just, I don't know, man. He became like the biggest law tuber that there is out there. I think he's got like, I can't remember what he had at the peak, but I think it's like 550,000 subs right now. People were looking into like the amounts of like super chats that he was making, and it was like hundreds of thousands off of, I think it was even like up to, well, I'm probably just going to pull numbers out of my ass at this point, but I heard that he's made like a millionaire legitimately off of just streaming, which is awesome. I don't know if everyone could take that. Like, I know a lot of people that a modicum of like fame or success really changes them. My God, like, could you imagine just kind of being, you're just
Now
some
he
local
sits
lawyer,
right
and then all
now.
of a sudden you're this
He sits
internet celebrity?
at 449.
I think at one point he was like 500 something K, but still, yeah, man, it's still huge, and he's still, he's still a big streamer out there. Hell, I
So
wish I had some fall off and was
okay,
still at 449K
okay.
or whatever.
So I'm not going to delve into the whole thing, like quartering and everybody. So Nick Rekieta got released on 550K bond. Now,
Ooh, 50K. Oh, okay, sorry. I thought that you meant that that's how much he had to pay. I was like, shit, that's usually like 10%. So damn, that's big.
So
but
the photo, right, is very, very damning. A lot of people who have been on the inside or either watched him for a while, you know what it's like to battle an addiction. Now, supposedly the nanny, the person who was brought in, which is like steel. Pardon me if I don't know this people. Like, apparently the nanny, it's like on another podcast, I guess they're with like Red Bar.
Yeah, I think it's called Steel Toe. Yeah, I listened to it a couple times. I didn't think it was that great.
That news broke because people were like, I think I heard EBS go, well, you're the bastard you probably called. No. They were in a process of getting the divorce.
Yeah, and they were also in some of his hot tub streams, which is interesting. I don't know. I really haven't followed him that closely for a while. Sorry, my dog's bark.
You're good. So, and this just broke the other day. And he had
yesterday is when the
day before. So, like the day before. And see, Legal Mindset, right, and other people. Like, I think yesterday said this is like LawTube's 9/11. Which
really they're calling it that. Wow. I mean, I know he was already trending earlier this week for a really, really disturbing looking clip that's
he was like
making the rounds.
He was like drunker than crap. Gundam
and
said
there's
he
like
was getting
three different interpretations of it. Some people are saying that the other person that was arrested, not his wife, that she was under the desk pleasuring him. Other people said that he was pleasuring himself. I don't know. To me, it looks like an alcohol seizure, but
I just call it like
disturbing.
Well, the man's been doing drunk streams and polishing off a bottle every stream.
Well, and it's sad too, like to see the progression, because I remember when he was like sampling different whiskeys and he was giving really heartfelt eulogies to like people's pets, or he was really coherent, and it was kind of awesome to hear somebody so eloquent, even though, you know, he is drinking and he's probably drinking more than he should be. But man, to kind of see what it degraded to, I saw kind of some highlights of his last stream where that infamous clip came from, and it does not look like the same guy. Like his skin is kind of a waxy color, and he's just so gaunt.
Yeah, you go and look at it.
It looks crazy.
You go look at it.
I gotta be honest, his booking photo from yesterday,
does look good.
It looks a little better. I gotta be honest. If there is a silver lining to this horrible cloud, he's looking a little better. I was a little worried when I saw that clip kind of turn around. It's like, ooh, he does not look good right now. But yeah, I don't know. Has there been a lot of news since he was released? I have not kept up with anything other than, like I said, on my Twitter, I just happened to see the mugshot and the charges.
I'm trying to see, right? Because supposedly, right? So I'm trying to see it, right? It's like, okay, so apparently, hold on, I'm trying to.
I don't know if this is a rock bottom, but I certainly hope it's.
I don't want to show this on
something
stream,
that would make
but
him.
They showed his arraignment. A video of his arraignment has already been out.
Wow. And
it's out.
There's no cameras in Trump's court.
5 hours ago, and the video's already out.
Wow.
So
well, I hope that this is something that would make him change, because the one part that I hear everyone kind of bringing up is the fact that there are 5 kids in the house, that he is, you know, he is homeschooling his kids with his wife, and both him and his wife were just arrested for drugs and
I'll be honest, there's the idea that he has like a black eye. Like, The reason I want to talk about this, I've watched him, and you're like watching a man destroy. Like I've stopped watching him
Yeah,
because
I fell
you're like
off quite a
watching a
while
man
ago.
drink himself to death as he replaces his crowd around him.
Yeah. I've heard a bunch of people kind of claim that so he has been friends with Dick Masterson for a long time, but I guess he recently did like some vacation with Dick Masterson. So a lot of people are blaming him for like this downfall. I think that's tough. Like he obviously had an issue with alcohol before, and then this fame thing. I don't know. I don't think you could blame any one person for this. It seems like he's definitely got like the genetics for this addiction gene, and then he seems to have a predilection for alcohol, and then supposedly he got busted with a lot of heavy drugs. The only thing that I saw was it
So
was
the thing about the gun
category
charge,
class 5
let me say this:
classification.
the reason why he got hit with a gun charge is because in a case, if you have a gun charge, with drugs, you're not supposed to have that in that scenario.
Yeah, and it automatically moves it to felony, doesn't it, when a gun's involved?
But you can throw out the gun. Like technically, you could get the gun charge thrown out.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a lawyer, so I don't know shit. If you heard the other guy, like you definitely know more than me on this.
So legal mindset was very honest. He's not in the term because what is the classification of the substance? Now there is the allegations of he basically was cheating on this person, cheating with this person. Her husband, like I've heard the worst allegations of her husband. Her husband, they were already going through a bitter divorce. He was telling her to get away from him because he is known about the drug use for months. That's just going off Steel Co's. If that is the case, because there's allegations that Kiwi Farms called on him. But whatever the situation is, I wish him the best. As a person who's watched him, it's tough watching someone destroy themselves with addiction. This is why if I ever became a big famous YouTuber, you have standards. Don't drink. You can have addictive personalities. What's this? You can have addictive personalities, right? But you know when to stop.
Hopefully. That's the problem with addiction is like, it's not like you are making a conscious decision. It's like it is controlling you. You'd hope that you could control it. You know when to stop. But for some people, they can't moderate. They have to abstain. And I hope he learns to get control over this because, man, it's sad to watch.
Do you know what's interesting about this, though? We could talk about addictions because it's not like the first famous person. This man helped progress LawTube. This man helped, even if he had the views, he was able to progress LawTube. He Howard Stern'd himself.
Yeah. He created a genre for sure, and it sucks. You don't want to see. I don't know. Nobody wants to see this. It really sucks. I hope for his kids especially, this is what it takes to.
There's a lot
of an outside look at what's going on here.
And the whole thing is, before people say with all their friends, there's a lot of people who have been trying for him to get sober.
For sure. I think it would be tough because, you're getting these thousands of views. You're this huge streamer. And part of your streaming is, you're drinking on stream. Every time you get a super chat, you're taking a shot. That'd be tough, man. But I think everyone would support him if he is looking to, better himself. So I hope he does. And I hope everyone's there for him.
So I'm not going to show it, but like the thing about it is, when I say this about him, it's very sad. He went from 6+ months ago. Like it's not that I called what happened with EVS when he screwed over Eric, like we were covering the Fandom Initiative stuff. But like I'm like, EVS is going to turn on Eric July. I said, Ricada, See, Ricada was always friends with Dick Masterson, but not Vito. He started getting trollish in chat. Every people who were around him, like Legal Mindset, this just gives people the idea. Legal Mindset distanced itself from him, and he was like talking about weird text he would get from Nick in the background. Literally, Nick was telling everybody in a private DM where Legal Mindset and other of his friends are. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Nothing's wrong. They go, but dude, you're blowing up for all the wrong reasons. Everything's fine. He gets arrested.
I mean, I think everyone kind of thinks that, like, especially if you're under the control of if your addiction's controlling you, I don't think anyone's going to say like, yeah, this is really horrible. You know, like it has a way of, no, this is fine. I'm managing. Everything's great. It's sad, but oftentimes you can't believe what an addict's telling you. And it seems like he's definitely in the throes of addiction right now. It's just sad, man. I think we all want him to get better. No one's looking forward to this. I hope nobody's doing like a victory lap and just happy. I think he would get it if people were making fun of him. He's done that to others quite a bit, and he seems to have a sense of humor. But damn, I don't think anyone wanted this.
You know, the worst part about this actually is, like, all these people, even as much as he said Eric July hates him and caused his downfall, and the worst part is I'm hearing the hustlers like Tony, Frog Tony, and as well as orbiters of EVS who hate Eric July. Eric July literally said in a tweet, the man, and I'll probably find it and bring it up. He actually did not say he hated him. I'll have to find that tweet. He even offered to pay for rehab out of his own pocket for him. Is that not like, does that mean Eric July and people who hated him? And does that not go against the narrative? He wants him to get better because of his kids. Let me find that. I'm not trying to farm drama. I don't like watching a person. Like, I would think if I hit rock bottom, someone would notice, dude, you're looking like shit.
And a lot of people have been reaching out to him. So, like you mentioned that behind the scenes chat, if you're in the throes of addiction, man, you don't want to hear it, and you convince yourself, no, everything's all right. I'm doing just fine. I know. I have definitely battled a bit of. I definitely drank too much back in the day. I kind of thought, that's how rock stars are supposed to live, and that's what I want to do. So, yeah, it doesn't matter if I get drunk every night as we're playing shows. But yeah, you just kind of brush off the people who are telling you like, hey, this seems to be getting out of hand. It's like, no, just enjoying myself. Everything's fine. I'm under control. It's really hard to get that like outside perspective, if you will. You're fooling yourself and you're lying to everybody else. It sucks, man. I hope this is the point that he needs to get help.
Let me see if I could find, because there's a lot of people. It's not that Legal Mindset, right? Said he just distanced himself from in part of recovery. It's like, thank God I've never actually had to deal with like drug addiction. Like, the worst thing I do is I drink a lot of coffee. Like, what's the worst I deal with? Like, he posted, like, the whole thing was like, you do, because what I think it's weird is he basically paraded himself, like, how do you put it? So you need to have a responsible peer around. There's people that have been saying he literally burned away all of his friends and did all that. Let's see if I can find this statement. I'm gonna find. So the reason I want to talk about this, it's not the clout farm. We have been watching a man destroy himself. Like, I had to stop watching it. You cannot watch people in the throes of addiction destroy themselves.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple of people yesterday who actually went to a meet and greet with him, and they got their photo with him, and I don't know, she was pretty much just crying because, you know, like she's seeing like the degradation of this guy. Like he is not in a good place, and considering like when she started being a fan up until now, she had to stop watching, and yeah,
He was
she
on
just in
a
full-on
meet and
tears.
greet and looked this bad.
No, so he still looked super healthy when her and her husband met him, but yeah, just kind of watching that actual video from the other day, that stream where he just looked so out of it. But that's what brought her to tears, and then seeing that you know, he got these major charges again with like 5 kids in the house. That just, you'd hope that this would be the rock bottom, because you don't want to see worse for this guy. That's pretty low.
Now, would you? We'll just close that on this. I just want to see it. Like, this is Eric's statement. I wish I could find it's a twit longer. Would you like to read that? Because your voice is better than mine.
Sorry, I was muted. This is the only thing I'm going to say publicly on the situation. Your statement is both incorrect and misinformed. Nick was never honest about anything regarding my business. In the LawTube space, he was one of the first and the best dressed, which tricked viewers into believing he's a lot smarter and unbiased than he is. Because the common YouTube viewer will have little reason to ever consult with a practicing lawyer in their lifetimes. It's easy to see why people consider his opinion righteous. He had loud opinions on cases he never tried, in fields he's never practiced in. Is he more knowledgeable on the law than I am? Yes, I hope. That's why I have a competent legal team. Despite being so confident, despite being so confident, him losing his defamation appeal proves his word isn't gospel.
Hold on a second.
It also seems to be
he did lose his defamation lawsuit.
Yeah, and the stream that kind of went viral was him kind of responding to that and then getting out of control with the drink.
Just so people know,
it was kind of in the wake of losing that defamation.
Takeda had a defamation lawsuit that he lost.
So it is just the appeal, but supposedly it's not completely dead in the water from what I understand, but I could be wrong. Again, am no legal expert.
So continue.
So the last sentence in that was, it also seemed to be what had accelerated his spiraling. Despite going on a 6-hour drunken rant about me, I still said I hold no animosity towards him. He sent me a text apologizing and said he could call me whenever he wanted to chat. He said he was going to take some days to breathe and never contacted me, though he kept taking shots publicly. If he fell out with other people, I have nothing to do with that. Sorry, my dog is squeaking a ball right next to me. But from my perspective, he's left with edgelords and degenerates that he favors. And as you can tell, they don't actually care about him. Watching Nick spiral out of control has been a difficult thing to watch. I don't like it. And it's not simply because I thought favorably of him. It's because this man has a family. And instead of getting him to the help he needs, I don't anticipate that the edgelords he befriended will do anything but farm content out of him out of his meltdown and or egg him on. They're chaos agents that found him useful. Still, all this being said, I'm dead serious in this offering. I will personally help take on the expenses should he want to check in to rehab. He wouldn't owe me anything in return. I just want him to get the help for the sake of his family. I don't like seeing someone I was cool with go out like this. Until then, I'll be praying, and I think you all should too. Let the Lord do his work. So that's definitely pretty nice considering kind of the
There's a
on-stream
lot of
fallout
people
and
who are
back and forth
basically
they did.
ignore a lot of these comments because the people who are, if you hated your enemy this much, you wouldn't do this. Now it's just something else. This is what he looks like during his arraignment today.
He actually doesn't look so bad. He doesn't look gaunt there. His skin appears to be like a normal color. That one stream really did concern me, but perhaps that was literally him at his worst. Both his mugshot and the arraignment hearing he doesn't look in that same way that he did in that other video. And granted, he was completely wasted in that other video. So, I don't know. But yeah, I hope this is what it takes to get him out.
I'm not going to play this guy.
I hope he does it.
I just want this. So,
I mean, he seems way more coherent and understanding there than in that stream where, again, he had been drinking copious amounts, but like he really wasn't making sense with a lot of his statements.
Wasn't it was Elijah Eclipse that supposedly said he came back with coke under his nose or some shit?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is because what he was charged with, there were some pills supposedly, and then there was also meth. I'm not sure if they're doing this. So supposedly it was like Adderall and meth. So I'm not sure if they're just saying meth because Adderall's amphetamine or if it was actually two different things. But supposedly you could snort either. So I'm not sure exactly what it was or if it was coke, but definitely white powder on his nose during one of the streams, which is not good. It's not a good look.
So apparently the transcript does omit his address, so I was a little worried about that, but no.
Good, but still, I don't know, man. I hope he gets help. I hope his friends are there for him. I think that was a really strong message from Eric July. You know, even if he did have kind of a falling out with the dude, like that's awesome to offer to pay to go to rehab. I don't think Rakita needs it, considering the amount of money that he made off the streams.
Well, bear in mind,
I don't want
to pull the EBS joke from last night, where he was still like very drunk. By the way, he's like eating pie, and he's like, "Well, the only powder you ever find in my nose is sugar powdered donuts." Good job.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's sad, man.
Oh. See, I'm only going to play this. That is part of the arraignment. It's worse. Like
25 grams. That is a good portion. So yeah, that was kind of what I had heard, but I don't know. I just heard that it was Schedule 5 or Class 5, whatever that is, the charge on it.
Do you remember what I said earlier?
Yeah, did they go over the gun thing? Is it just because he had the drugs in the house and there's a gun there, or was there something funny with the gun? Like, I don't know. It just seems interesting to me that there would be a gun charge as well. But he did make it clear that he does have guns in his house, so that makes sense if the crime happened at his house, but still, I don't know. I hope the dude gets help. Just with 5 kids in the house, that's terrible, man.
So ignore the random person. This is how they do arrangement. So 25 grams is a lot.
Live now. It's kind of awesome. You don't even have to be there in person. Just Zoom your court.
So he's getting charged with child endangerment of drugs inside the house.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense. They are homeschooling kids in that house, and there was a copious amount of drugs. So, yeah, it does seem like there would be child endangerment charges. That sucks for him.
So lucky for him, this is his first charge. See, okay. This is why he said he has like a black eye. Do you see it?
I don't, but I don't know. It's hard to tell with the lighting in there. I'm not seeing a black eye.
Do you
but
see like this eye right here? Like the shape.
I don't know. I could also see, sleeping poorly and having bags under your eyes after a bender and being in jail. Maybe. I can't tell from this angle.
So the kids, just so you know, are with the family in the area.
Yeah, that is the one good thing that I've heard about this is they have plenty of family. So it's not like the kids would just get taken into state's custody. Still has to be traumatic on the kids. That just sucks.
And I'm not doing this to make fun of the men. This is actually just broke yesterday morning. Like, this is rippled.
Well, the arraignment just broke now.
Arraignment broke.
This is from today.
Well, we heard on the 23rd. So supposedly he was arrested in the car. Now, Steel Toe went into more of the details. He said he's known about the drug use for months. He said, right? But he's told a lot of this lines up with what we see.
Yeah, man, it's just kind of hard to watch. I'll probably look at some coverage of it in the future, but yeah, I just have nothing to say on it. I just don't know any of the details on it. So.
The only reason this hits close for me is I don't like watching people I like go down.
Yeah, I don't think any of us do, but I don't know. There's definitely some trying to, farm clicks off of it. And I don't think we should participate in that, man. Let's just wish Rakita.
Okay, so I'm just trying to see what they put on his conditions. So 50,000 bond with RPR, basically drug screening. The good thing is if he goes on probation, he can't even drink on stream.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Just from looking at that one video that went viral, if that is tremors from alcohol, I don't know that he could just stop without going into, massive physical withdrawal. That being said, he obviously in this video has been without alcohol for quite a while, and he doesn't seem to be going through tremors anytime that I've seen in this. So I don't know. I don't know what I saw in that weird viral video. I'm not convinced one way or the other, and there seems to be multiple theories on what was happening there. But the dude doesn't seem to have the shakes right here, or he doesn't seem to be going through extreme withdrawal. So maybe it is a good thing, like you're saying, for him to just not be able to drink. But I don't know. It's just a sad situation all the way around. I guess I don't know. I got nothing else to say on this, man. Just I hope he gets better.
He objected, so it's a personal recognizance bond. It makes it weird they would do that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know anything about any of those bonds. I understand that. So I'll probably be checking out his coverage on it. But yeah, I don't have anything beneficial or anything that I could add to this.
I'm just you're learning like I am. I know that I
I'm
can
not
look
really
up
learning it, man. I'm seeing a few words on screen and just getting sad as I see that. So I don't know, man. I think I'm through talking about this, but if you want to continue on, you definitely can.
I'm not going to
I
talk
just,
about it. Like
I
the
got
idea,
no news to
it
say on this.
isn't.
I don't even know what the hell happened. This is the first I've heard that it was in a car. I kind of thought it was in his house.
Supposedly, it was arrested in a car. Then they searched the house. Yeah.
So then, I guess I'm asking you another question. I don't know. You know the answer to. So did he have a gun in the car? Is that what the weapons charge is?
I don't know unless you're thinking it's in the house because
I don't know. That's why I just didn't know what the hell happened. I assumed that he was in his house, but I assumed wrongly.
So the thing about this is, it's just I wish the better man well. Like I don't know. So like some people are saying he doesn't show remorse, like he doesn't know what hit him. I gotta admit though, he looks pretty good for being in jail. Right side.
Yeah, I thought he would be looking a lot worse considering that viral video from earlier this week. I gotta be honest, like it was like, oh, he actually looks pretty good in that the mugshot, and then in that arraignment video, it's like, okay. So that gives me a little bit more hope than I had when I heard the reports and then saw that prior video. Man, I was kind of thinking the worst.
So I mean, close it out now. It's like I just wanted to see it because this has been a lot of it's just right now. It's like EVS is just concern trolling. Tony was like, well, these people don't care. But from everything I've looked at, and I was watching streams all yesterday or listening to them, like Legal Mindset just walked away because he wouldn't fix himself. Your friends just walked away and hope for the best. If you have addictions or issues, you have someone generally telling you you're screwing up. Have a responsible circle around you. Now,
yeah, but sometimes the responsible thing is walking away. Like if you can't see somebody harming themselves like that, I don't know that it's the worst option because you're either enabling or kind of cutting them off, but it's up to them to actually stop.
I think it's interesting. I want to know. Supposedly, all three were in the car. That's why all three, the nanny and the other one, got picked up. Unless they got picked up at the house.
Yeah, since it was three of them, that's kind of what I thought. And
it's
I
the nanny,
heard there might have been like an incident that got them called out to the house, and then that's like a welfare check, and then that's when they found the thing.
Well, okay.
It was all speculation, so that's why I feel so bad about even saying anything about it.
They say it's supposedly looks like a black eye, but I don't see it. It looks like bags under the eyes more. People saw
and I could definitely see that after a bender and spending a night in jail. So I don't know. It seems inconclusive to me, but yeah, it could be. It might not be.
But as I say, so when could I expect you? So you're gonna be down to review. So we'll do what? Another day this week or earlier next week, we'll do the Fallout dumping. Or you are?
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Do you want to break it, or do you want to break it up? Because we only got to episode 3.
Either way, I kind of dug this with the way we kind of just went through a bunch of 97. I think we could bust through a bunch of Fallout if you're down. I think it'd have to be kind of later next week. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town a couple days this weekend.
And we're going to have to hit Shogun up, and then you're going to have to watch Masters of the Air.
I need to watch that. I'm not going to get a chance this weekend, but probably next weekend I'd be down to plow through Shogun.
What about Masters of the Air?
It's going to take me a bit longer.
Shogun, we're going to have to go over by episode or like chunk it because there's a lot that happens in Shogun. Like I think, like
I'd be down to go episode by episode if you want. I can definitely do that.
Give it a try because it's unlike X-Men 97. Every episode's an hour, so there's some small stuff. Like even I'm gonna have to go back and watch it and take some note, rewatch it.
Well, I'm excited for it, man.
Because here's the thing with Shogun. Like when I watched it, like I can get stuff in the first pass through. It was a TV show I had to watch. And
Well, I'm looking
even
forward to that. It's been
after
a while since I've had one
even
that you actually have to
after
pay attention to.
a couple of episodes, like there's stuff they pay off in later episodes that you have to go back and think about it because you see it in other episodes, or there's seed betting in the other episodes. But we'll go with Shogun, and I guess dumped you the Fallout thing, and I guess I wish you. So people who see this, I should be continuing Diablo. Eventually, Gray might want to stream this. At least figured out
I
how.
will. We will join up soon for Diablo.
What level did you get to
I think I'm at like 46 or something right now.
in this season?
I don't know. Yeah, I've just been grinding a bit.
Oh, it's all fine.
She was a different character.
I can show you. Well, you're wrong if you're not Necromancer this season.
Nah, dude, full barbarian. I'm just gonna go in there and hit him with a hammer.
What are you doing, barbarian?
Because I wanna.
Okay, what are you doing?
Just wanted to try it.
Okay.
No. I don't think I've done a full-on barbarian since like.
You want me to help you before you get to 50?
I think I'm okay. I think I can get to 50 pretty easily.
No. No, we leveled it. We can level faster because when you hit 50,
I get you.
You're going to start getting into the Paragon board, and
yeah,
you need to get into a build. I can point you towards a build. So there's like several barbarian builds that got changed because barbarians had what was it? Because if people saw my stream the other day, and thank you if you ever watched this or the other one the other day, the concept, even though I mainly play Necros, I still know it. It's just like I played all the classes, I read the notes. So like with your barbarian, right? Are you using Hammer of the Ancients? See, Hammer of the Ancients got nerfed. You can still do bleed. Like there's like a Rend barbarian that does bleed. You're either going to go into like a Berserk, because technically they hit overcharge. Like, okay, you're using in your armory as an example, right? So are you using Hammer of the Ancients or you don't know?
I haven't been. That one I specifically didn't. I was using a little bit of bleed, but yeah, I don't have like a specific build. I was just grinding.
So there's like a thorn bleed route that I was using that's not necessarily nerfed. But like they hit the overcharge damage, like the overcharge or fortify damage, especially because barbarians were being really stupid for the last season. They did nerf Hammer of the Ancients. So let's say you're doing Hammer of the Ancients. Now in ultimately, right, with barbarians, let's say you're doing without Berserk or you're not doing Berserk. So let's say you're doing the bleed rend route, which is like the other, which is like core that. And the question if you're not to an ultimate yet, right?
Yeah, not at all.
So I can help you out with that because the idea, right, is in some of the builds, admittedly, I don't use arsenal abilities. It's like if people see me play Necro, I don't use any curses. Like I'll be honest, like with the Necro I'm doing, Shadow Necro is so strong.
Yeah,
I love
noticed that from some of those fun group battles. It's like, oh yeah, those Necros are killing everything. I'm just okay.
What are they using?
It seems to be the Shadow thing. Like,
are they doing Shadow? Like, is it Blight or is it Blood?
I want to say it's Blood, but I'm not.
Blood didn't get that much of a nerf because Blood you can stack damage. But yeah, once you get into the end game, right? Because we are getting to 50 sooner. So yeah, Greg, you'll just have to hit you up. I can help you with it. Plus as well. On by the way, how do you like the Codex update? How they're doing the Codex?
I don't hate it. I don't know. It's okay. I didn't quite understand it at first, but I don't know. Seems to be working out.
Are you getting the tempering?
Yeah, I am. I don't know that I tempered everything correctly. I just kind of randomly took a
Okay.
stab at it. It's like, oh, that makes it
So,
better.
so here's the thing, right? Let's explain this to people. Like you get this when we get on, I have to explain this to you, and it sounds like so tempering recipes, right? Have a different chance. I gotta crack like I'm a very quick learner, as people can, if they watch my stuff. I know how to min max. Like I'm a Shadow does Shadow Necro. The only difference is I'm going to turn skills into Shadow. I'm a combination of the higher classes and the fact alone, my thorns and everything else. So let's say I send you down the thorn bleed route, so the idea on necros, right? A lot of it is like what I need to do is when I get on, I need to go get like the shadow blight. See, every time we dismantle an exotic or the legendaries with an attribute, it updates the attribute for forging later on or moving on to the aspect. There's no
Yeah,
more variance. All it is that.
yeah.
So,
Which I don't know. I don't hate. So I don't know. Seems
and it
to
goes
seems to
from
be
your
okay.
codex from eternal. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying barbarians are a bad call. Barbarians
Yeah, it's an
went out.
interesting one. I just wanted the exact opposite of what I was doing before. It's like,
Oh,
well, I haven't done this, so
no, to be
yeah.
fair, the only reason I alight with necros and probably sorcerers is it's just rogues. I'm watching rogues. I'm out damaging rogues in the field. I was like, I'm happy about it. But then again, shadow is a tick over time. So if people watch, like, I'll throw down Blight. See, Gray, if you ever see Blight, that's different. If you see it looks like spears, that's bone. But everything is going towards, because Necro minions all get 100. They get 100% of our bonuses now. We'll see how long that lasts. Okay. How many Ubers have you gotten yet? Great.
Uh I'm so sorry. My dogs were going off again. Could you say that one more time? I heard the
Have you
question.
gotten any Ubers?
I don't think so.
They're the named items.
Yeah, then no.
Okay, so that's my answer is my question. But yeah,
We'll
like
have to talk about it next week. You definitely have a knowledge about this that I
you'll
haven't.
have to.
I was in a sick stupor, so I just felt like all I could do was
Yeah,
sit there
so
and just
basically
grind.
try to get gear, but I can give you like the idea. Like your build would be that bad though. So I will catch people later. They do. It's I should
Hell yeah,
stream
man.
later today. So
Hell yeah. I'm looking forward to it, man. That sounds awesome. And I will definitely be picking your brain on what I should do with my build.
buddy. So check you later. Capable later, I guess. Gray, you want to plug anything?
I don't think I have anything going on. Thinkers every Thursday. Other than that, check out Tiamat here. Like and
Yes,
sub.
did. I will catch people later. And if you have any questions or so, I should be streaming this like that or 76. Both actually do well, and I both enjoy the game. So, yeah.